Welcome in on another gorgeous spring day. It is Wednesday, May the 6th. Nice to have you with us. I think there's a lot of positive news coming out today, this third day of the city reopening. We'll go over some of that in a second. I will tell you, there are some industries that, well, they're just doing incredible during this pandemic. We mentioned earlier liquor stores, places like the Spirit Shop, usually up 30%. They're all saying that they are past what they used to be before we voted in grocery store liquor and wine sales. So that is one real bright thing. The second one, and I know this because friends of mine and myself have endeavored today to try to get a tee time. If you love golf, you got to book a weekend tee time. You got to do it Monday morning. You might want to do it Sunday for the next Saturday. I am not kidding. To get a tee time, and I'm not sure about the public courses where you have to walk now. I think they're doing well too. We should check with Mickey Barker about that at some point. But if you're trying to go to some of the daily fee golf courses that we've all gone to over all these years, and you on a Wednesday try to get a tee time for a Saturday, you're looking at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. I mean, it's amazing. I just spoke with John Wells, who's over North Creek and Wedgwood in North Mississippi. He said those golf courses are busier than they have been in years. That a lot of
Did you jump the line?
No, I did not. But
why not? You know people. What's the value in knowing people if you can't jump the line?
I'm not going to take a tee time away from somebody. You do it the right way.
Well, we're not talking about a COVID test you're taking from. We're talking about playing golf.
Well, he's pointing about he's basically saying a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's only one cart per person.
That's it.
I guess if it works out that this is really good for business, they'll end up ordering enough carts because you really do lower the amount of time you're going to play if you only have one cart per person. But I'm amazed at a
lot of wear and tear on the course though in time in normal times.
Probably, but I'll just say this: they are booming. They
are, and there are many places booming. There are many places booming, and there are a lot of places that are really, really hurting and trying to, just stumble back into business right now, David. It is tough to be in business in good times, and in these times, it's really hard to be, and a lot of people trying to get back out there. I wonder how. I'd love to hear from people today at First Bank phone line 360-8255 or at the First Bank text line 67129. Tell us, are you getting back out? Have you been out to dinner? Are you going out at lunch with the requirements and the restrictions, of course? And I was kidding about jumping the line, Dave. You know I was. We want everybody to be safe, but are you wanting to get back out? Are you being reluctant to going back out? And David, I hope, and I don't have any reason to the contrary, but I hope all of these pronouncements from all of these colleges, SEC and otherwise, University of Memphis, Big 12, Big 10, whatever, wherever, all these of we're having football in the fall, we're having school in the fall. I hope this is not a big, gigantic bait and switch to send in that tuition money and then, nope, everything on Zoom.
Well, I don't think they'll do that. There is a trend. I don't know if you've seen this national story, and I'm trying to remember the college, but there was a student who was in school just like everybody else. The pandemic hit in March, and he was sent home to finish his studies via the internet. Well, he is now suing that school in a
Was
class.
he in school at Missouri?
I can't. I promise you, I can't remember.
I think I saw it because he derisively calls it Mizoom.
I don't really remember, but I know this. I thought it was a private school, but what he was doing was adding, because it was a class action lawsuit, he was adding every student in the school. So wait a second. He says I shouldn't have to pay full. If I'm doing online, it's 40%. So he wants 60% refund on his tuition. He wants a refund on his dorm for whatever time he didn't use, and he wants a refund on the food that he paid for. And apparently the school said no, and he said, okay, I'm taking you to court, and a lawyer who's a pretty smart lawyer with him made it a class action suit so that every student in the school is now a part of it.
On the class action. Yeah. And if you paid for I don't know, Drew, what was the last parking pass freight you paid at the University of Memphis? What did it cost to park on campus? I know I'm going to be blown away.
Wait. Is that with tickets or without tickets?
With a legitimate parking pass.
Don't quote me on this. I'm not 100% sure. I believe it was somewhere about $150.
Oh, I knew it was going to be stunning. All right, so let's
and that
say
wasn't
you
even
paid.
for the parking garages. I couldn't even park in the parking garage.
I don't think that's stunning. I remember paying for Nathan and Jacob. I want to say it was like $150. I thought that was a good deal.
It was an extra $200 if you wanted to use the parking garages around campus, I believe.
Mine was $10.
Well, that's just because you're old.
That's right. All right, Drew, answer me this. What did it cost to drop to go drop a class, to drop ad?
I'm not sure. I never dropped a class. I finished every one I signed up for.
I've dropped.
Very impressive.
I am, too, because I dropped several classes.
Oh, yeah, on the last drop date, too.
And I don't remember having to pay a penny for a drop class.
It
also
is a fee
was,
if you
was
don't
$10.
do it by a certain date, but I don't know what it was.
Huh. Well, all right, so if you paid, let's say, for wherever, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Memphis, Tennessee, Mississippi State, you paid $100 for a parking pass. So you paid it for January, February, March, April, May, 5 months, $20 a month, right? Well, you got it for 3 months, January, February, and we'll call it all of March. I want my $40 back for April and May.
Really, you could make the case for $60 because
you sure could, Dave.
You only were there about March 10th, March 11th. That was it.
Sure could. And again,
most of them,
I hope this
schools,
is the case on bait and switch.
Most of those schools were, in spring break when it happened. So
that's correct.
They really didn't use March. I don't know what will happen, but we'd love to hear on the First Bank phone lines 360-8255 about your willingness to come out, go to restaurants, go to things. Let me tell you something. You know that I've been more the conservative, really, between you and me.
And I hadn't been out, Dave.
You know what I did today?
I don't know what you think I've been doing. I said I'm going out when I can.
Right.
I can tell what you did.
Well, you said that you would go to a restaurant when they open.
Monday night. When we sign off at 6 o'clock, I'm going out Monday night.
But okay. In Memphis, you could go now. You could go to the commissary right now in Memphis. Now, I don't think my wife would do it, so I'm not going to do it, but I'd be willing to go to a patio. But I'll tell you what I did do today. I went for the first time and worked out. So I went to my gym, Tommy Gerber, the way Tommy's doing it, there's never going to be more than 3 people there. He takes my temperature before I work out. If I've got a fever, I'm sent home.
That's smart.
There's never going to be more than 3 people there. There was nobody there when I got there. There was one person that came in while I was working out, and then there was one other person coming in while I was going out. And today, and I'm taking my headsets off for a second, just so you all can see, I got a haircut. Al Ruiz, nice. I love you. I went and got a haircut.
Did your barber have on a mask?
He sure did.
Good.
Walked in the door. Now, I didn't get my temperature taken there, but
that's the smart part of safe, smart, and soon.
As soon as you walk in the door at the hair salon, it's the Oak Court Hair Salon in the Sanderland Center.
I like that you go to a salon. That's cool.
That is. When it's on, you can get a manicure, you can get a pedicure. Yeah. They do it all, and they're good folks. Gary Toney, whose son used to be the holder and the backup quarterback for the University of Brett Toney. Mm-hmm. His dad is the one that owns that. And so as soon as you walk through the door, there's a little station there with sanitizer. So you've opened up their door and you've been on your car. So they want to make sure you're clean. Very good. Cool. They do that. Al Ruiz is wearing a mask. And I did not get shampooed. They're not doing that. So he asked me to have my hair wet when I came in, which I did. And
boy, I'd like to see a picture of you rolling around town with your hair wet.
Especially when it was as long as it was. Man, it was not a pretty sight.
When you were looking like Neil Young.
But all I'm telling you is that I'm getting out there and I'm trying to live. And when we give top and not top story, I think I've got some really good news.
But you're
here.
being safe, Dave. And, that is your prerogative. And I hope I will say it again. I hope this is the start of going forward, locally, nationwide, worldwide, of a more adherence to safety and to cleanliness and to exercise. And again, I'm sorry to the smokers, and it's easy for me to say this because I've never had one in my life, so I don't know the good or the bad from it. But I just wish we would have this same emphasis going forward on the pandemic of smoking that kills 400,000 people a year and secondhand smoking that kills 40,000 people a year. I wish this would be our new cause celeb going forward.
I won't disagree with anything you just said. It's a good, noble cause. That is for sure.
And I think it would be easy. Throw them out and never pick them up again.
You know, it's easy for those that are not addicted. And I've never smoked cigarettes in my life. So for me, I'm with you. I mean, I go, you have done an unbelievable job in your life of breaking an addiction. Not everybody can.
But you know, Dave, I don't think it was addiction. I think it was a bad, selfish, immature habit. Because if it was truly an addiction, how did I quit? Now I'm going to have people in the AA community and in the rehab community very mad at me. But you know, I can't quit having MS. I could quit drinking whiskey.
That is accurate. Some things you can't control, but and MS you didn't bring upon yourself. The other, your addiction to alcohol, if it's an addiction, and you're not sure it is, and I'm certainly not arguing with you because you overcame all that. You know a lot more about it than I do. But here's my point. There are people that try to quit, and they get the DTs. So there is a physical addiction to it that has to be overcome.
And Dave, I did have some of those underlying aspects to it in the weeks and months, and I would say maybe even 2 years out from first stopping. There was a physiological and psychological, yes, because it was such a part of my reason to be, my raison d'etre. I'll go French on you. It was so much a part of it. But if you can drive home on a Monday night and throw out that last Budweiser bottle and never touch it again, how addicted were you? I almost asked that, debate-wise. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that you would be wrong. And again, I tell people I never spent a day at it, but it is a great, and I mean has saved lives and marriages and business relationships. The work done at AA is fantastic. I got a friend of mine that is the veritable bedrock of the Little Rock chapter for AA. He has done the Almighty's work in there, and he's not now because they can't meet because of social distancing, and he's scared of what he's going to return back to. But I never have. I didn't need to. I quit. I never did again. I know that is not the norm. That is the outlier exception. But if I had a true addiction to it, I don't think you could really ever stop. I mean, you can't stop having brain cancer.
No. And you didn't bring brain cancer upon yourself either.
It was a choice. It was not a choice.
Right. Exactly.
And that's why I say bad habit, immature, however you want to ascribe it or assign it. I think it's a lot of those things, and a lot of things that come on people. You don't know why or from what, both physiologically and psychologically, hereditary, genetic. But I know you can snap it. I knew a man that both of his parents, raging alcoholics, horrible. This man never drank a drop. He saw enough of it through experiences with his parents that he knew, I'm never going that direction, ever. Not the first sip. And so if it was truly genetic, how come it didn't get him? It didn't. And he stayed away from it forever because he saw the true wreckage that it caused with his parents.
Well, back to your point about the cigarette smoking.
Mm-hmm. If we're not going to eliminate cigarettes,
but if the
because we know why, because it makes up a lot of budgets.
If the incidence of cancer isn't enough to scare you now,
no kidding.
Knowing that this pandemic, this virus, maybe
goes right to you,
maybe other viruses. If you don't have a good respiratory system, it's going to get you. It's going to
get you.
Attack
Dave,
you.
it is. And it's why when we go forward, again, safe is the order of the day. And safe doesn't mean the politicians telling you. Safe means the white jackets, the medical community, the science, the best and the brightest telling us. Then smart, and I hopefully soon. And I think when we go forward, there will still need to be mitigation for predisposition, hypertension, overweight, smoking, elderly, and those other factors. And then if you are fearful of going out, if you think you have an underlying pre-existing condition of some other medical malady or ailment, then by all means don't. And with all that, we hear so much despair from our seasoned citizens today. Happy 89th birthday to the great Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid. Wow. Favorite sports photo ever is him catching the ball off the bat of Vic Wirtz in the 1954 World Series, 2-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, 24-time All-Star, 1954 World Series champ. 89 years young today, 12-time Gold Glove winner, batting title winner, 2-time All-Star MVP, the Say Hey Kid. Number 24 is 89.
Wow. Just seems like
American
yesterday.
legend.
I can remember seeing him in Tunica. And
played golf with him.
Yeah, man.
And it was great. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design they make for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
So I opened the show with what I thought was positivity, and here's why. City and county officials are pleased with the city reopening. We are in day 3, and I don't know if it was joy or relief, but yesterday, and we mentioned it, Cinco de Mayo, that was a big day. That was a day of testing when people would be imbibing, and they would be going out to these restaurant patios and having a little bit, and how close would they get? Would we have a spike? And we did not. So we passed the Cinco de Mayo test. There was no real uptick in the cases in these first 3 days. In fact, for the week now, we're at the smallest amount of increase since way back in March. These are really positive things. We also learned today the surge model that comes from the numbers from the health department of the county. They were April. They were going to be like mid-April. Then they were going to be end of April to May. Then they were going to be middle of May, maybe end of May. Now they're moved to late June or even July. The surge expectation is going to be moved to that. We're going to have a doctor on in the next couple of days, whether it's Dr. Threlkeld or Dr. Jane again. And I want to know, when I read that, some people are going, oh, no.
Here we go again.
We're going to have this surge, and then we're going to have this second wave. And I read it as such. We keep flattening up this curve so much we're pushing it out. maybe there won't be a surge at all, and we got to check that with the medical doctors for sure.
Well, I hope not.
But
if we do, we'll have to struggle through.
Well, yeah, but I am getting that sense. Honestly,
I am too.
2 new
I'm hopeful.
deaths over the last 24 hours, so we're up to 60. But we now have 56% of all the cases, 2,948, 56% of the cases have recovered. When it comes to tourism that was addressed today, first priorities will be the zoo, Brooks Museum of Art, Botanic Gardens. They want to get these things going to sort of help bring back tourism. State of Tennessee, 13,690 cases, 226 fatalities. In Mississippi, they're at 8,207, but they have more fatalities continuing that rise to 342. Arkansas, 3,527 with 83 who have passed away. World dashboard now, 3.25 million, 3,780,522. We are over 261,000 deaths. We have lost in this world to coronavirus 1,275,000, so over 1.25 million. I'm sorry, that is wrong. Worldwide, we've lost 261,000. We have had 1.25 million, a little over that, recover. In the United States, 1,245,000 cases now. 73,000 have perished. 203,000 have recovered.
Well, I don't want to get this in your head, Dave, but every time I hear Botanic Gardens, I kind of get a wry smile on my face for the late, great, our friend Stan Sandroni, who always would call the Botanic Gardens the Mechanical Gardens.
Did he really?
Stan, he would always call it the mechanic. He would.
Since we bring it up, and I meant to bring this up last week, one of the fun things, especially for older people like me, because you can get a table, is the Botanic live at the Gardens.
And you can enjoy the music.
And enjoy the music sitting down. And look, you come in, you open up your favorite bottle of wine. You got 1 million people that are around you at all the different tables. They all got food. You go around table to table visiting, maybe trading wine. I mean, it's a gas. And then great music comes your way.
And the volume is not so that only dogs can hear it.
No. The Gardens actually wanted to try to continue on. They are hoping to open in a minimal way as soon as the city will let them. But the touring groups, 3 of the 5 they had, have canceled their shows. They've canceled their whole tours. We don't know who they are. I suspect we could try to figure this out. But they're hoping to have them back the following year, but the whole season gone.
My top story with number 13 and number 12 retired by the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa has settled on uniform number 1 with Miami. Warren Moon, listen up, people, because this will very much be involved in the Germantown Collierville Commissary. Big Q of the day. See how we tie everything together? Warren Moon in the Hall of Fame. He once wore uniform number 1. Kyler Murray now wears number 1. Cam Newton won MVP wearing number 1. Other Hall of Famers to wear uniform number 1. Jimmy Conzelman, Patty Driscoll, Ray Flaherty, Benny Friedman, Curly Lambeau, Fritz Pollard, and Jim Thorpe, and probably the most famous number 1 ever for the Miami Dolphins. And, boy, he's gotten a lot of airtime the last few days, hasn't he? Garo Yepremian.
Yeah, he has. You know, I was trying to just think of who my favorite number 1 might have been in any sport. Penny Hardaway.
He was a good one. A real good one.
And it's my not top story.
Top story of the day.
We're a little behind here. Almost forgot about that. My top, there's a bunch of them. I'll go with the NCAA upholding the penalty on UConn's Kevin Ollie. He still has a 3-year show cause for a lot of different reasons. But you know what the main one is? And now I've seen this held up twice to guys that were really well thought of that ended up getting 3-year show causes that stuck. That's Bruce Pearl and Kevin Ollie. And what was the worst thing they did? They absolutely lied. They lied to the NCAA, and if you do that, you're going to get 3 years show cause.
my not top story. So far, no corroboration for the story from Trevor Woodward Bernstein Pluff. But Yankees boss Randy Levine with some encouraging words about baseball starting. The all-Phoenix plan went nowhere. The heat's a big factor. Bruce Marshall pointed that out first. The Phoenix-Florida plan didn't go too far. And now the three-site Phoenix-Florida-Texas plan isn't very popular because the players don't want to leave their families. Randy Levine, the boss of the Yankees, with those encouraging words today, even mentioning playing the season in the home stadiums when they can, maybe spring side if there were an outbreak like in New York in Queens or in the Bronx, but still fanless.
Interesting. I guess for the family's sake, you could do this where you would at least play half your games at home. But the travel and the stuff you have to go through with the travel, where you're leaving yourself open to catch the disease, that is complicated. Maybe that's the best word I can use. That is very complicated. I don't know how they'll get past that. It'll be interesting to see how baseball will work all of this out. Those are your top and your not top stories of the day. We've got a busy show coming up in just a couple of minutes. Richard Ransom from Channel 24 and Channel 30. TJ Reeves at 4, our friend down in Tampa. Rick Horrow, as he always is, will be with us at 4:30. That's our business expert, a good friend of Steve Earhart. He has been telling us he wants Steve Earhart on the air with us. He's got a formula for us to get either a new stadium or a fix-up at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Okay? We're going to have them on together today. Then Pierre Landash from the Memphis Hall of Fame on class number 2. That comes your way at 5. It'll be crunch time at 5:50. Busy as always on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats. Richard Ransom from Channel 24 on his take on day 3 of being back open. Richard Ransom is next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and CJ Hertz. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
A heart in my tasty Honey Nut Cheerios? Cereal, you trying to tell me you love me?
Actually, it's reminding you that it can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Wait! They can help lower cholesterol? I've been so focused on the sweet, tasty taste that I completely forgot. Now I'm in love.
Learn more about making Honey Nut Cheerios part of your heart-healthy lifestyle by picking up a box at your local grocery store.
Every home has things it needs, things that need to be maintained, fixed, or replaced. The Home Depot is here to help you get it done. You can easily find what you need on our app, order it online with the push of a button, and have it brought to your door with free delivery on over 1 million items. We have the essentials you need, the online know-how you may need to do it yourself, and low prices that make it all possible. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Welcome back in. Wolo and Stats with you on a little chillier. This cold front has now come in, but it is just gorgeous outside. And this past week, I wish we'd be San Diego if we bottled this up and had it like this every day. Oh, it is exciting that we get to talk with Richard Ransom from Channel 24 and Channel 30. The thing I most remember about Richard, people may have forgotten this, he was the original on WMC, Clean It Up! And now
he was.
Now I love the Ransom notes. Those are his commentaries.
I do too.
He's talented in so many different ways. Richard, thank you for giving us some of your time today. And
happy to do it.
And let me know your first thoughts on day 3 of the city opening back up. There certainly was optimism at the briefing today from the county and the city officials.
Right. So the initial numbers are promising. I think most people are realizing it's kind of on us to determine whether this works or not. And hopefully, if we respect the social distancing guidelines and all of that, we can get the economy open, but also not make the situation any worse. And actually better would be nice.
Yeah.
Richard, under this mountain of numbers and information, we've had various journalists on, print, television, radio. I mean, if you can't find something to report on right now, you might be in the wrong racket because there's a lot of stories. What is Richard Ransom's go-to number every day? We all go to the COVID-19 kind of scoreboard, but what's Richard Ransom's go-to number every day?
Well, I look to see the hospitalizations. That's the number that I'm most interested in because I know we've beefed up our capacity to be ready for any kind of spike. And as long as that is holding steady, I think that is more true to what kind of a crisis we're having than number of cases, because now we're seeing these stories where, an entire prison population is tested and 98% of the inmates have it or have it tested positive but show no symptoms. So you have obviously, as we get to learn more about this, I think the ones who are getting truly sick, and there's even talk that maybe there's a couple of strains that are involved here, that is going to be most telling about what kind of situation we're facing going forward.
I think it's so on the money to look at that hospitalization because really and truly, I think that's where, as a country, the lockdown sort of really came from. They were worried that what happened in Italy with the health services being so overwhelmed, the hospitals having to choose who would get a ventilator and live and who would not and die. They were so worried about that happening, which is why we're building that thing at the old commercial appeal building on Union and the one on Jackson. So worried that we would overwhelm our hospitals that we went to these measures. And honestly, I guess we can say that it's really worked out. Even in New York, that ship they built, they didn't use.
Right.
And I don't know that we'll ever use it, and that's okay with me. But I'm not sure we'll ever use the commercial appeal building. But that's the key thing, isn't it?
It absolutely is. You look at the testing is definitely important, and we were slow to get going on that. And it is going to give us some kind of measuring stick on where we are, and I hope that continues to pick up. The pace of that continues to pick up. But those who are getting exposed and getting really sick are the ones that we really need to be watching. And look, I hear the stats everybody else does. Men are twice as likely to die. I had a lung condition and asthmatic, borderline asthmatic all my life. I've been dealing with that. So, you personally take in the information and want to be careful, but you also have to keep it in check and look at, really what are the numbers showing. And I think following the data, as the mayor has done, has been the smartest choice.
Richard, in the state of Tennessee, kind of the macro, and then as a lot of Tennessee likes to refer to it, Big Shelby in West Tennessee in Memphis. What are kind of the Richard Ransom marks you'll give for the macro and the micro?
You're going to put me on the spot, aren't you? Well, look, I think that in Tennessee, most of our politicians have done a really sincere job of trying to get medical opinions to weigh in on what is the best course of action. I do think that Governor Lee has done a fairly good job, and the polls show that 64% are happy with the job he's done. But he did throw a curveball to the counties and municipalities when he changed the salon opening date, the phase 2, from May 29th and moved it up 3 weeks to May 6th. I think that put the other local officials in a real pickle as to what they were going to do. And that could have been handled better. But, hindsight is 20/20 on something like this. We've never encountered anything like before, and hopefully never will again. But, it's easy to do a lot of second guessing. But I think by and large, the only thing that has concerned me the most is when they show that national map where of the 16 or 17 states that are opening up the most but are still seeing an increase in cases. And the White House's own guidelines are you're supposed to have 14 days of some decline before you do this. That's where I'm really interested to see whether this experiment of ours works.
The other thing the governor sort of did a little switcheroo on us was the churches, where it was going to be 25% capacity, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques. And he said, no, it's going to be up to the individual churches. They can make their own decision. Now, I don't have a problem with a restaurant because I've looked inside. Personally, I'm going to sit on a patio. I don't know if I'll go in for a little bit, but I've watched and seen how they've done the social distancing. I don't know that you're going to get that when you are crowding people into small churches. I understand, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness and religion, but I know personally of cases where people actually caught COVID-19 from being in a church too close to other people.
You look at the clusters, the outbreaks have largely been funerals, weddings. My wife has her dad is retired, lives in a small town in Donaldsonville, Georgia, and that's right near Albany, where they've had a huge outbreak, all because of a funeral where several people got exposed. And so those reasons, your concern is reasonable, because I don't think that is necessarily, unfortunately, a smart choice right now. I think worshiping via home churching, watching online is probably the best bet right now.
As you've done your stories over the last few days, how many people are coming to restaurants? Are we truly opening up? I said I went and got a haircut today. I actually went to the gym, but I knew the rules. I knew no one would be there, so I had to make an appointment. But are we doing one, responsible things, or two? Are we showing up?
Well, I saw a poll today that 1/3 of Americans now know someone who was seriously ill or died from COVID-19. And I think as that number goes up, it has the rest of us, and people share their stories, makes you think twice about putting yourself in those kinds of situations, because you ultimately have control over that. So, yeah, I'm with you on the restaurants. I have several that I love to go to, and I miss terribly, but we've been supporting them with takeout service or curbside service, and that way the wife doesn't have to make the meal, and we have a nice night, with a nice glass of wine and not worry about anything. And to me, that peace of mind is worth it to me not to go into the establishment just yet.
Richard Ransom, our guest, he's on Twitter at Local24. Richard, and Richard, your bio is so fitting. I mean, it screams you, and you have in all caps independent. And when I watch you and I hear your editorials, the Ransom notes, through the years watching you, I could not tell if you are RD, Bull Moose, Whig Party. I could not tell, and that is a compliment.
Whig Party.
Well, I just try to go where the common sense is, and as we know, both parties are lacking a lot of that, and sometimes they make sense. So it's kind of hard for me to align with either one. So. But I appreciate that. It's important as a journalist, I think, not to show your bias one way or the other. I think we do bring to the table, our experiences, our life experiences, and that's only human. I don't think it's actually possible to be completely unbiased. But the goal I have for the viewer is to let them know that I'm not bringing those personal views into what I'm sharing with them at night. And sometimes on my, if you do pay attention to the Ransom Note commentary I do at 10 o'clock, I am an equal opportunity offender when it comes to politics.
Way to go! Keep them all in guard. I told Dave the story right outside the House of Representatives chamber in Washington D.C. that you see a lot of live stand-ups from. Richard, you may have seen it. You probably have done stand-ups from there. There is the statue of the great satirist, humorist from Oklahoma, Will Rogers. And before they commissioned his statue, he had one request: make sure I'm facing him where I can keep an eye on those SOBs.
Yep, that's a great story. Absolutely.
Richard, how do you think the leaders of Shelby County, Harris, Strickland, Haushalter, Jane, how do you think they have done in these trying times?
I don't think anyone is below a C grade, honestly. I think that Lee Harris, as county mayor, really had a challenge on his hands with the beauty salons and the barbershops. And you had the suburbs getting immense pressure to split away, and he really wanted to present a coordinated effort. And by all means, and I had several of my ransom notes on this, you could not have a situation where you could drive across Poplar and Kirby if you wanted to get your hair cut or not. You needed to be as uniform as possible, or it was just going to be absolute chaos. And this is what I think they've been able to make work and have the restrictions in place that they have. As long as the numbers stay where they are, I think it can hold together. It's probably pretty fragile, but I commend him for putting that together, because I honestly didn't think he was going to, based on what I was hearing from some of the suburban leadership that I have as sources. So I think that was an A effort there. I think he gets a C, though, for not being in country when this all hit the fan. And I think he would even give himself that.
Yeah.
Mayor Strickland I'm very impressed with his task forces and people he's assembled to try and coordinate an effort as the largest city in the county. Has done a great job. I think even to the south of us, Governor Reeves.
Oh.
Well, he's going to go to the governor first, but yeah, and the so-called suburban mayors of North Mississippi have done a good job. So I think most of the leadership recognizes the seriousness of
this. As we move forward, and I don't know, what you can really get out of this, but is there a lesson? Maybe it's to be better prepared healthcare-wise, like maybe we'll keep that hospital either on Jackson Avenue or at the Commercial Appeal. But what do you think the lessons are that we will have learned from this when we truly get through Phase 3?
Well, I don't know if you fellows would agree with me or not, but I think the one area that really there was no excuse for is not having stockpiles of the basics, the face masks, PPE, other supplies that shouldn't have to take up that much room in a storage room or what have you. And
right.
We've got to bite the bullet and spend the money that it takes to have that ready to go. And that to me was, as I was seeing, especially out of New York when they really had their tough time, you just couldn't help but think there's just no excuse for that. This country is better than that. And
exactly.
I would hope that we could do better than that and learn our lesson from that in the future.
And Richard, both that and right now, I mean, with FEMA and with every alphabet soup, let's don't be caught not prepared for hurricane season this year. We don't need to have hurricane season or COVID season exacerbated by hurricane season. We got to quit having our guard down and not just have a rainy day fund of money, but have a rainy day fund of generators and water and masks and respirators. And you go through right through the list. And if we don't ever use them, then good. It's why we have fire insurance on our house, not because we're going to have a fire, in case we have a fire.
Yeah. And I hope that the pridefulness and the territorialness of the political part of this can be seen as a waste of time. The virus doesn't know any boundaries or state lines or city lines or municipal lines, and I think that's unfortunate that has crept into it as it has. But hopefully we can learn a lesson from that too.
Let's get ready for the murder hornets. That's what I say next. And incredible.
Man, we need a vaccine for those.
It's amazing the time that we are living in now. Do you think you'll ever do a Clean It Up restaurant review segment again in your entire career?
I don't think I could do that to the restaurant industry right now.
No, you couldn't.
I might be vilified.
No, you
But
would
I
get...
tell you what, it does kind of feel like a Groundhog Day that just never ends. You know, if you've seen that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Really
you wake up, you do the same thing, and go to sleep and try to change the routine a little bit. And pretty much you just live the same the same day over and over again. It's pretty eerie coming into the building here where there's hardly no one around.
Well, you are being watched, though. That is for sure. You are helping people, and keep that in mind. And Richard, we thank you so much for being a part of our show today, and hopefully we'll have you on again as we clean things up, and trying to be punny here, and get through this thing.
Look, just because you're a sports show doesn't mean you can't have a news guy on every once in a while, right?
That's exactly
That's right.
That is right. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
That is Richard Ransom, the anchor from Channel 24,
Excellent.
ABC 24, and CW 30.
Do you know Richard? I don't. I saw him one time.
I do.
I saw him, and I just texted him. I saw him one time out and started to, but I didn't want to bother him on a Sunday night. But I have really admired his work through the years, and he's Memphis now.
He is. Well, I'm not sure. I think his wife is from here. So he started years ago here at Channel 5.
Right.
And he was a reporter, and I think he did a little weekend anchoring, and I think he became pretty renowned. He was outstanding with those restaurant.
Sure was.
Health reviews, and developed his own style that way. He got hired away to Milwaukee, where he was, I want to say he was a weekend anchor. He might have become the main guy there, and then he got hired away back here, and Channel 24 was able to get him, and he's just an outstanding talent.
He is, Dave, and for years, for all the years that Jason's Deli's been a great sponsor of this show, I've always talked, and you hear it on the recorded ad all the time, about how clean it is, and that meant something to me 10 years ago when I first started knowing them, and it means something now. They're back open in these odd times, in these first baby steps back out. Jason's Deli people want to assure you that it's always been safe. It's always been clean. It's even more so now at all the locations, Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. Everybody with gloves and masks and really trying to take care of you with all that same great food. They're not going to shirk their responsibility on quality food. They're going to keep that up. They have ramped up everything from the cleanliness to the hospitality and, of course, to the great food. The salads, the soups, the cheese, the meats, the breads, the spreads, all that great food you can get now at all the locations. You can call ahead. You can go to their website. You can go to their app and order it at jasonsdeli.com and go by and pick it up. And you can go in and sit down, of course, socially distant, and very safe and very reliable at Jason's Deli, Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch and Cordova, all that great food and the catering anytime, anywhere. As the offices start to open back up and you want that as option, you can use it again. jasonsdeli.com, all about choice, and they love to say wholesome food forever. It's a family thing.
I mentioned earlier the school that was getting sued by a student as a class action suit.
Yeah.
I just remembered it's Drexel. According to our crack producer,
don't mention them.
Drew says there's more. We'll talk about that next.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. The East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutoSales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
What I'm saying is, this is the anthem. Throw all your hands up. Y'all got to feel me. Sing if you're with me, yeah. So wanna be just like you.
When we opened up the show, we were talking about a class action suit, and I really did not realize exactly which school it was, but when Drew said there had been many schools that had done it, and he mentioned Drexel, it dawned on me it was Drexel. The other, there are several, according to Drew. George Washington has been sued. The University of Miami has been sued. Liberty has been sued. That is interesting. Every one of those, if I recall, I may be wrong here though, Brett, but I think every one of those schools is a private school. Is it not?
I think you are correct. I know Miami, the U, they are, aren't they?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That would be the only one I would
private
think.
And very expensive.
Miami, yes, and a very prestigious school. I got a friend of mine in Little Rock that went to law school at the U, and I think most people probably don't realize the academic standing that it really has and has had. We might drag Rick Harrow into that, but yeah.
Well,
Dave, you got a lot of nerve mentioning Drexel.
Well,
ooh.
We took him lightly, and they had a guy named Malik Rose, who, I hate to say it, but he just ate up Lorenzen Wright in that game. And
there was a lot going on that day.
There was, and what?
That was the end for Larry.
I'm trying to remember the guard.
Mingo Johnson.
That said, "What's a Drexel?" Something like that. Yeah, I mean, they dissed him, and they gave him all kinds of reason to be motivated. And Rose was a heck of a player. I mean, he really was. And yeah, that was a lousy thing. But here,
Malik Rose, he was probably the beneficiary more of going kind of through the Pop system of any player in the NBA. I mean, Pop got everything that was there to get out of him. He got paid doing it.
Well, Pop got people that he thought fit into what he wanted to do. We talk about this all the time. Certain players would not flourish in certain systems. I've often asked this, and nobody really has the definitive answer, but if Steph Curry had come to grit and grind, would Steph Curry be a great player?
Here's one, and it was a great debate about him because the workout went down in Grizzlies legend. Draymond.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if he comes here, what happens? Maybe he flourishes.
I think he'd have been great here. Draymond would have been great in this system. I don't think Steph Curry would be.
But Alvin Harper with the Cowboys, he signs free agency with the Buccaneers. We don't hear from him again.
Right. There are plenty of players that I thought would flourish in in the pros, and they just never got with the right system. That could be for Keith Lee too. He was injured, but had he gone to a place that
he was injured more than anything else.
Yeah, I think that's probably the true. Drew,
Keith Lee should have turned pro after his freshman year. Now, with the value of hindsight,
well, sure,
that's always 100%.
No, and he would have had 3 more years of earning.
Clock's running.
Yeah. You found Drew found you found some public schools that have been sued. The reason I brought up the privacy part, the private part, is that, and I'm not saying the University of Miami doesn't have an endowment that could take anything, but if a school that wasn't backed by a government got sued and everything was included, or every student was included in a class action suit, you could see that school go under. And that was the point I was making there. Give me, Drew, you've looked all this stuff up. Who are some of the schools that have been sued now? So there's a heck of a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's at least 5 or 6 articles from the last few days just naming multiple different schools. But the one that I'm looking at today, this was actually from 2 days ago. A lawsuit by students has been filed at Michigan State, Purdue, and it says parents of University of Arizona students. So I'm just going to say students at Arizona as well.
But here's what I don't get. If you're the University of Arizona or you're Purdue or you're Michigan State and you had to switch all those kids to online and they're not staying at home anymore because you switched them to online, why wouldn't you just – and it's not going to be every one of them because not everyone's living in the dorm. Not everyone is going to be taking their food. But why wouldn't you just refund the darn money? It's not like they don't have the money. There may be some schools that
don't. It's a lot of money. I mean, it's a big price range.
It's a lot of money. Just it's a lot of money to a season ticket holder waiting on their dough back from the NBA.
That's true. I don't disagree with that. But we don't know that all that has been, and I'm sure we'll know in the next week or two, whether all those games are not going to take place at FedEx Forum before you can bang on them. But these guys,
we know the spring semester is not going to happen again.
Right.
That's true.
It's already done.
That's true.
So
that's right.
What are they waiting for? They're opening up themselves for these kinds of bad PR. Plus, they're not going to win. Crazy. We'd take the time out. It'll be fun to head down to Tampa in just a minute. Talk to our friend TJ Reeves. He is next.
Hey, sports fans, you already know the Butcher Shop has been a great Memphis tradition since 1981, and it still is. The Butcher Shop is absolutely open for your takeout with curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery because the Butcher Shop is still serving your favorite steaks, fish, and seafood. But now you can also pick them up raw and take them home to cook. You get the highest quality from the Butcher Shop and the comfort of home cooking. All wine and beer selections can be sold and picked up curbside as well. Plus, order curbside and pickup and receive 10% off your food order. And how about Burger Fridays? Treat your company to lunch, and the Butcher Shop will deliver Hamburger Friday any day of the week with all the fixins for just a minimum $250 order. The Butcher Shop is here for you, so don't worry about getting a great meal. The Butcher Shop has cooked or uncooked meals for curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery. Call 757-4244 or online at thebutchershop.com. The Butcher Shop at the Agri Center, Walnut Grove, and Germantown Parkway.
Every home has things it needs, things that need to be maintained, fixed, or replaced. The Home Depot is here to help you get it done. You can easily find what you need on our app, order it online with the push of a button, and have it brought to your door with free delivery on over 1 million items. We have the essentials you need, the online know-how you may need to do it yourself, and low prices that make it all possible. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Time's running out to win $5,000 a week for life from Publishers Clearinghouse. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week after week, for life. Don't miss your chance to win because $5,000 a week for life is ready to be awarded on June 30th. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Better hurry if you want the next big winner to be you. Enter now at PCH.com. Entries due 6/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1 FM, and 87.7 FM. As well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, tell Google or Alexa to play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned to real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in, hour number 2. Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on a pretty day, another day, I think, of positivity. Officials today are pleased with reopening of the city of Memphis, day number 3. And the Bundesliga, that's the soccer league in Germany.
Yeah. That you're an aficionado of, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I
always thought you were our go-to Bundesliga reporter.
Well, I am not. You know, we can get Matt O'Sullivan or my son Jacob Woloshin on that, and there's no problem.
Is that right? Jacob's up to speed on the Bundesliga?
Oh yeah. Any kind of European football, he's in it, baby.
I love that you called it football.
And they are about to be Europe's first major soccer league to resume, either May 15th or the 22nd. Of course, no fans. Hey, you want to hear something wild? When I was reading this story, at the very end of the story, it says, "Oh, by the way, there's no way there could be any fans because in Germany, they are not allowing any mass gatherings until August 31st." At least.
Explain. And I know there will be a deep dive on it. We'll get TJ. I promise, TJ, we're coming your way. I know there's going to be a deep dive on all of this, but you go through it, and Germany's to be the under Angela Merkel. They're to be commended. You look at their fatality rate, and it just runs super lower than everything else across Eastern Europe and us. I'm trying to get to the Germany fatality rate.
While you're doing that,
they've had 7,000 deaths.
Yeah. That is remarkable. And a lot of these European countries saw what happened in Italy and really tightened up, like Germany. In Spain, they wouldn't let there was one person who was allowed out of the house. Same thing with the Philippines, by the way. One person was allowed out of the house. Now they finally let kids out of the house for I think it was 1 or 2 hours over the weekend, this past weekend. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Kids were not allowed out of the house. So people have been a lot more stringent.
They took extreme measures.
Yeah.
They did. And you look at that, Germany, the deaths per 1 million in population. In Italy, it's 491 deaths per 1 million.
Right.
In Germany, it's 87.
Wow. And what is it in the United States?
To be commended.
What is it here?
226.
226. So somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, and Germany's second behind the United States in testing. They've ramped it up.
TJ Reeves.
They're at about 3 million tests.
He joins us now. TJ, welcome to the program. How are things in Tampa? I'm sure
TJ.
Some of the craziness and euphoria of Brady and Gronk has worn off a little bit because people are still have you guys opened up like we have here?
We have. You gave me a good laugh with the Bundesliga stuff. The Bundesliga, the Bundesliga. We got Korean baseball on. We got all kinds of things. It's like ESPN's back to its early roots, of which I am a fan. Australian rules football, tractor pulls, softball, watermelon seed spitting. I mean, literally those kind of things were on constantly and in prime time before they got the rights to show actual games, like about 82, 83, 84.
That's right.
That's what they used to have, so we're kind of going back to that. But yes, in Florida and in our area, it opened up in phase 1 on Monday, and there are some that are able to return back to work. There are a lot of people that are still going to be working from home. There are restaurants that are back open that are practicing social distancing, only a certain number of people in the restaurants. I know, Dave, you're familiar with this, the historic Ybor City tourist area that has a lot of food where we went and ate when the Tigers were here. Correct. Well, the Columbia, I mean, it's heartbreaking for Richard Gonsmart and the Columbia because they have basically had to furlough, lay off, get rid of all of their employees because of this in all of his restaurants, not just the Columbia, but the several other restaurants that he owns.
We should point out, TJ, that the Columbia restaurant is a Cuban restaurant in the Cuban area of Tampa. It is also, I believe, the oldest restaurant in Tampa.
It is. Yeah. It's a 1904 tradition going all the way back over a century. And so in any event, there have been a lot of different places hit hard. But in Ybor City, what they are doing now is they are restricting even more the driving, the auto traffic, as opposed to the foot traffic, in an attempt there in downtown Tampa to encourage restaurants to have more outside seating and be able to accommodate more people to try to get an influx of some business. So yes, some of this is going on in different parts of the country, and as I've come on your show over and over again, we have to have optimism that when it's reasonable, we start to resume with all facets. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to the next few weeks and couple of months of some sports resuming, whether it be the Ultimate Fighting, whether you're into that or not. They've got a card this weekend, whether you're into the NASCAR that's going to be up and starting next week. We're big, the three of us, into golf, and obviously Memphis is concerned about the FedEx St. Jude Invitational, the World Golf Championship event, playing there later on this year. So then we get to the basketball and the hockey. Can they resume? And the baseball season, can it start? But it's good to see some optimism that some of this is beginning to start back up, and we can start to return to some normalcy for sure.
TJ, good for you, because on Wednesdays when we have you, and through the years when Dave's had you, and in the morning I've been with you, we almost never know which way this segment will go with you, and good for you today. In Jess, you were talking about back to the ESPN origin, and I know people get mad at ESPN, and it's easy to pick at because they're the big establishment figure now, but those 4 letters changed our lives. And all three of us can remember on ESPN in the early days, it was a whole lot of stuff that you described, a whole lot of highlights, and Dick Vitale. That's all they had. And TJ, it's why I almost will fight somebody defending Dick Vitale, and people that want to take the shots at him and now almost want to play the age card on Dick Vitale. He was there when the sports world needed him, and he's always done it with an ebullient, sunshiny disposition and with a very, very big, caring heart. There are a lot of people to crack on in sports and authoritarian type figures. I don't think Dick Vitale is one of them.
No, absolutely not. And college basketball making its way onto mainstream television and mainstream cable television is largely due to ESPN and Vitale being the Pied Piper in the early to mid-'80s. That is undeniable. And now virtually every college game at the Division I level is on TV in one form or fashion now. It's incredible what it has become. And, yeah, he's a trailblazer. He's a pioneer. People cannot fathom that we tell these stories because we're old enough that ESPN used to not be a 24-hour network for the first year or so. They were only on during the day and during the early evening, and they would sometimes come back on after the games with a sports center in the middle of the night, but they weren't even a 24-hour network their first few months or so on the air, but they didn't have games. They didn't have the rights to any of these big leagues or NBAs or NFLs or Major League Baseball. They had to try to find stuff to show. I know one of the big ways that they got in with college football, you guys will remember this just real quick and then we'll move on, is they became a tape delay partner for a lot of them because the college football powers that be were not they were forbidding live broadcasts, but ESPN could come back on a Sunday night, or on a Monday night and show you a tape delay of a Saturday game. And so that's what they began to do to help fill up programming hours as a point.
Well, they were brilliant. Dick Vitale was really big at raising their image in terms of college basketball, and that they could handle any sport and do it well. I think that's the way it was. But you've got to go back and understand that after the first guy that had the idea sold it, the second owner hired really smart people. And they started acquiring rights to things, and their technical know-how of how to do things. So when I first started doing stuff for them, they were one network. And I'll never forget them telling me they were going to have an ESPN2, they were going to have an ESPN News, they were talking about an ESPN 3, 4, and 5, which became ESPN Plus and ESPN Streaming. They knew about this. They were thinking about this in the early 1980s. So they were really smart on a lot of fronts, and they changed sports and how people appreciate sports, how they've become, here's the word again, Brett, addicted to sports. I mean, they made sports.
I do plead guilty to that, Dave.
They made sports a bigger part of this country. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I was just thinking when you were saying that, these are the same people that understood that right now with the global pandemic going on, with everything shut down, we don't need to wait. We have gold bricks here, not just gold. We have gold bricks with this Last Dance documentary. It doesn't need to wait until the summer and after the NBA Finals when we don't have a lot of sports going on other than baseball. We need it now. They had that forethought and understood that, and man, is that thing a smash hit.
Yep.
That's got great audience. And they're understanding the same thing right now, which is, okay, we'll show you a little Korean baseball in the middle of the night with the baseball announcers that you're used to hearing, because there are people starved for this. So they're giving you the piecemeal what they can give you right now, and they understand that. So, but yeah, that Last Dance documentary is fantastic. Fantastic to reminisce, to go back and forth from the early 90s to later in the 90s and the early part of Michael Jordan's career, and have all the backstage access. They have been, the documentary workers, I think you guys probably covered this, but I was reading more on it. They were working on this for the last 3.5 years. Think about how long a month or two of working on a project is, or a year. 3.5 years on these 10 episodes. And it looks like it. It shows. It's going to win awards. It's great stuff.
It is. It's compelling. I wonder if Michael's going to become another pitch man again, because people realize how good he is at communicating in subtle ways to send a message, whatever they're trying to sell. No question about that.
Hey, real quick, from the episode last Sunday night, how might the world have been different? And I didn't really know or remember this part of the story, but Michael was ready to do a deal with Adidas.
Right.
With David Falk, his agent, because Adidas was so big in tennis, right? And David Falk had done so well with Arthur Ashe in tennis with Adidas, and Michael Jordan liked the Adidas shoes, and they were going to do a deal with Adidas, and his mother is the one that made him follow through with the invitation and the request to go see Nike.
They know best.
And good Lord, how the world is different because of that.
Couple of $1 billion later, Michael is appreciative.
And I did it today. Y'all want to see something amazing? Google Michael Jordan net worth. Wow.
Oh, it's staggering.
Last I looked,
Google
how much?
And Google
$2.7
Phil
billion?
Knight and Google Nike and all of that converged at the same time back in the early to mid 1980s with him as the forerunner, like you're talking about Vitale being the forerunner of ESPN. There you go.
Yeah, he was right there. And Dave, you're right on the money. 2.7, and that's about 18th, 19th, 20th or so out of the 30 NBA owners' net worth. I mean, the guy, Steve Ballmer, that owns the Clippers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even real. Well, I mean, he could end up being with Bezos and be a trillionaire someday.
Wow.
It's on. He could buy the whole league if he
Well,
wanted
you
to.
just saw, I think yesterday or in the last day or two, he bought the former Fabulous Forum, the Forum.
Right.
He bought it for a cool $400 million. He just went ahead and dropped it. Much like how Dave and Wolo roll, Sports 56 audience.
Well,
he just dropped a quick $400 million.
Wait. So what
front pocket money?
What is his net worth?
Like $66 billion.
Oh, I thought it was $21 billion. It's $66 billion.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What is
Drew,
$400
hit the Google machine real quick on Steve Ballmer to make sure it's right. TJ, I go back to this, and we brought it up yesterday with George Hoffman out of Chicago visiting with us. It bugs me that the Michael Jordan gambling stories, all legal, well, the golf course stuff, but mostly casino. There's no hint of any there of crossing any scrupulous lines. David Stern would have never brought him back and would have never had him in the league if there were any unscrupulous nature to it. But it bugs me why people, and I know why, because we're all kind of got some nosy in us. But Michael Jordan goes to a casino in 1998 when he was only worth about $300 million then, and he loses $1 million. That's nothing. That's comparative to friends of ours that net worth is $3 million and going to a casino and losing
a couple $100.
Yeah. I mean, it was nothing to him.
Right.
I don't know why people, that's crazy. He could be giving that money to fill in the blank charity. He's giving money to those charities.
Well, he just couldn't win, and that's why he retired. That's why he went to play baseball. It was at the time he lost his father, and he was ready to get away from the world. By the way, Steve Ballmer, $62.8 billion, so you were on the money.
Nice.
He's only worth about $60 billion more than Michael.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing when you start going through all of that. But yeah, watching The Last Dance has been neat. I know we're anxious for the NFL to get started back. I know Don Shula's death has been a big topic.
Yes.
The iconic coach. I know you had my guy Chip Namias on, the former PR director of the Dolphins, but also the Buccaneers. I know you had him on earlier in the week.
We did.
Telling Don Shula stories, and I've actually also got him coming on the Three Dog Thursday podcast that I host. It'll be out. Coincidentally, Brett, you always love it when I plug on Thursday. The Three Dog Thursday podcast is out on Thursday, and Chip is telling stories on that, like what he told with you guys. And my in-laws, my wife's parents, are the biggest Dolphin fans ever, the biggest Shula and Marino fans ever. I joke with them all the time because we would always make friendly wagers on where we're going to go eat if the Dolphins or the Bucks have a better record at the end of the season. They would always want to go eat at Shula's. There was finally like 1 year where I had to go by, and I remarked then that, it really is strange sitting in this high-end restaurant that all the Dolphin pictures are in black and white because the Dolphins haven't done anything since Don Shula and color film were invented. So I love to kid them, but that man is such an icon. Chip brought up a point, and he may have done it on your show, that maybe the Dolphins should do a remembrance like the Bears did with George Halas, where they put the GSH for George Halas on the uniforms and left them there. And maybe the Dolphins should do something like that for the icon that Shula was and how much he means to them.
I don't disagree with that, but the only difference is Halas owned the Bears, founded the Bears, and Shula did not own the Miami Dolphins.
But Chip's point, and it's well taken, is he comes to the Dolphins in like year 4 of their existence. They were horrible as an expansion team. At the time that he came to the Miami Dolphins, no other professional sports team in the state of Florida, besides the Miami Dolphins in the 1970s. And numerous people have talked about this. The only reason why there is a Miami Heat, a Miami Marlins, a Florida Panthers is because of what the Dolphins became in the 70s and the 80s, where the other sports would want to expand to the state of Florida.
That is true. And there's a bunch of stuff with Shula out there today because, he's going to end up Bill Belichick is probably going to break Shula's record. And apparently there was not a lot of love lost between those two giants. In fact, Don Shula, on several occasions, called him Bill Belichick because Shula really and truly was a man of rule following. He
no
thought
doubt.
you did the things the right way, and it
You know what town he didn't like?
It irked the heck out of him that Bill Belichick got away with not doing things the right way.
Well, you know, a town that he didn't like and Joe Robbie didn't like to his last breath, Memphis. 3 words why. Zonka, Kick, Warfield.
Yeah. The old WFL, right? The old
right.
Memphis Grizzlies, the first incarnation. Hey, I have one quick story. I don't know if you got a scoop right this second.
Go ahead.
But it relates to Mike, the son, and of course Mike quarterbacked at Alabama. Chip was telling the famous story about how the Tennessee-Alabama game that had the power outage at Neyland Stadium and you couldn't get the score, the radio broadcasts were off the air, the whole thing. So Mike later becomes, for one season, the backup quarterback for the Bucs. He eventually becomes a quarterback coach. He eventually becomes an offensive coordinator, and Tony Dungy hires him to be the offensive coordinator of the Buccaneers in 1996 when he became the coach. So fast forward to 97, the Bucs have turned things around under Tony Dungy, and at the beginning of that season, they're playing the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football, national TV, and this is only a couple of years after Don Shula had been the Dolphins head coach and had basically been forced out, whatever you want to say, for not winning enough, and they had hired Jimmy Johnson. So Jimmy Johnson is now the Miami Dolphins coach. But Don Shula's at the game. Mike Shula's the offensive coordinator, and the Buccaneers sealed the game about 3 or 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter with a screen pass where there were about 4 Dolphins ready to kill Trent Dilfer, the quarterback, and I still can see this in my mind's eye while I'm talking to you. He floated the ball over them to Warwick Dunn, and there was no one home. There were a couple of Buccaneer blockers and nothing but green grass. And the place erupted. They about tore Old Tampa Stadium down in the final year of Old Tampa Stadium, and the Bucs had beaten the Dolphins on national TV. So after everything is over, after all the press conferences in the tunnel where the Bucs locker room and where the press conference room was, there was Don Shula kind of holding court, and Mike Shula was there with him, and there were some media people around, and you could tell that the competitive dad was still angry that his Dolphins, because a lot of those guys were guys he had coached, had allowed the Bucs to put that screen pass on them and win the game on Dan Marino and the Dolphins. So I will always remember standing there in that moment. You're happy for Mike, you're happy for your son, but he was still mad that the Dolphins had lost. So
he was a Dolphin, no way around it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Good stuff. Well, we have the Schwab in a few weeks. I got a little Coca-Cola, maybe some whiskey.
5 weeks from tomorrow.
Get some golf going, yes. They're going to play. They're going to play, practicing the social distancing with the money that's out there. NASCAR's going, yes. I believe we're going to take steps, and the NFL is going to release the schedule, and like we were talking about, they're going to release it apparently tomorrow night, Thursday night. We know that they're going to likely release the slate. Here is the 17 weeks, but there may not necessarily be dates. Don't know this for sure. I'm not breaking news. There may not be dates next to those weeks because, again, there are contingency plans on is there a preseason? Does this begin in September with the regular season we're talking about? Does it begin in October? There's a lot of different things, and it may be fluid here over the summer, but we'll see the schedule release and see what that looks like as well.
When is that? Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow night is the schedule release.
Okay.
Correct.
Can't wait.
And so we'll know the opponents, allegedly, and the order of the games, but we may not necessarily know the dates. Let's wait and see what they reveal.
Okay.
We'll all see it together.
Thank you, TJ. We appreciate it. We'll talk about it next week.
All right, boys. Always good to be with you. Keep doing what you're doing in Memphis.
We
be well.
shall. Thank you. We appreciate it. That's our friend, TJ Reeves. Our title sponsor for this hour of the program is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, Genesis of Olive Branch in Olive Branch. That's where this building is, and it's getting bigger all the time, and they're bringing in many, many more of the Genesis product. I've got the G70 now. I had the G90. I'm just going to tell you, this product is... it's amazing. I don't know how else I can really put it. The 70 is a performance car. The 90 is the smoothest sedan I think ever put on earth. And they're all built with safety technology, all the latest that there is. and they all last forever. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new car on the lot. That's going to be Hyundai or Genesis. And I always like to say they're the standard for the car business. They're always coming up with new ideas. They were the first, and there's others that are doing it in the market now. But 0% financing for 84 months on a Hyundai or a Genesis. 0% financing for 7 years. You don't pay interest. 120 days to make the first payment. We all understand hard times now. Many people will be back to work in the next 3 months. Some of you may be getting stimulus money now. You don't want to pay quite yet until you're more sure. Well, you got 3 months before you pay on select models. Please go check out my friends by getting on Lamar. First exit in Mississippi, that's Craft Road. You're there. Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. This is going to be a lot of fun. Rick Haro, our Harvard professor, and Steve Earhart, who he's been trying to get together with. We're going to put them together here in a minute. We're going to get a brand new stadium for Memphis. That's our goal today, and all that comes your way next.
The word is out about R&R on Sports, where you've heard interviews from
Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more.
Right here, R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m., Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Don't miss it.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. The East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
Right now, it feels like the world's standing still. But if you look to the land, it's a whole different story. From farms to backyards, wheels are turning, seeds are being planted, animals are getting fed, grass is growing, and families are giving their all to the soil. Because no matter how uncertain things get, the land never stops. So to all those linked to the land, John Deere says thank you. We're here for you because we all run together. Nothing runs like a deer.
Whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want what you're listening to be what you're listening to, right? Not what your roommates or family are listening to. Now is the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds. Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds, the best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable noise isolating fit. It's great for conference calls, video chats, or binging on podcasts. I do that too. It was co-founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. Now's your turn. See what the hype's about. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/herd. That's buyraycon.com/herd. 15% off. One more time. buyraycon.com/herd.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back into the Family Leisure Studios, and they want to remind you, make staying home more enjoyable for your family this summer by taking advantage right now of them being open and really doing a bunch of stuff curbside. Complete pool packages starting at $15.99, 24-foot pools only $19.99. The four-person spa starting at same price, under $2,000, $19.99. How about those big swim spas under $10,000? High-quality swing sets discounted to $21.99 from $34.99. Now that is some kind of savings. They're offering contractless purchasing, deliveries, and curbside pickup to make it easy. All you've got to do is schedule an appointment and place an order. Please stay safe and enjoy all the trappings of being outside in the summer. Family Leisure is still there for you. always in this time slot, we talk with our friend, our professor from Harvard, also a part of the family of NBC stations. That would be Rick Horrow. So, Rick, what have you been asking us to do for the last few weeks?
Oh, my God, is he there?
He's
Seriously?
here. He's here. And Rick.
Oh, my God. Can he, the last time 30 years ago? Was it 25 years ago? You're a hero. Is there an appearance fee attached to this? How much will he charge to
Hey, Rick, this
Hi,
is Steve
Steve.
Earhart.
Hey, man.
It's so great to reconnect with you, and I think it's actually been more than 40 years ago when you and I first started crossing paths, and it's an honor and a pleasure to reconnect with you. And for all the listeners here in Memphis, Rick's one of the sharpest, brightest guys in the country, and I first ran across him. I think we were at a joint seminar of the Sports Lawyers Association of the country, and Rick was the featured speaker, and he was way ahead of his time with leading us, the knucklehead sports lawyers, down the road there. So,
but the interesting thing about that one, I think I was advocating that we have a tea party and break away those 13 colonies as far as that law. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. It sure as hell felt like it, Steve. And you, right back at you in terms of
it was in the
Yeah.
It was in the 70s, so that when you start counting backwards, that is a long time ago, Rick. But and it's we appreciate you here in Memphis coming on the show here with Stats and Dave, and they've both been talking about you, and I'm glad I was going to give you a call, but when Dave said let's put this together on the show, but again, it's a real pleasure to be reconnected.
All right, we have an ulterior motive here.
Oh boy,
Rick.
Okay.
You have said there's going to be this stimulus money coming out of this pandemic, maybe like it was World War II, where they're going to put people to work and build new stadiums. Earhart has been after a new stadium for Memphis since we tried to get in the NFL. So here we go. I'm putting the two minds together. Let's either, if we don't get a new stadium, let's fix up the Liberty Bowl.
Well, let me say first, before Steve even talks, that listen, there's no guarantee of political consensus. Who would be stupid enough to say that? On the other hand, I do know that there are a lot of people working in Congress for this fourth stimulus bill to try to find what everybody calls infrastructure. Now, what does that mean? Well, in certain situations, the team ought to drive a deal because it's very important. In other situations, and I think the politics are better, where it is clearly a community facility. Nobody debates the Liberty Bowl as a game and Memphis football and on and on and on and all of the other events you have there. So the issue is, how do you help get a new stadium and get some public money and not require an NFL team to be part of that process, because it's very important to the community, just like the Orange Bowl in the 1930s was done that way. I suspect there's going to be some of that here. And also the medical aspect of it. I know there are a lot of architects that are designing protocols to make stadiums safer. We said last week, what was it, 72% of those surveyed in that Seton Hall study say we're not going to a stadium until there's a vaccine. Well, you got to figure out how to make it safer. So I am here. I am volunteering, small v, it'll be determined, my services to kind of help Earhart get a stadium done because Memphis needs one. How's that?
Yeah. Well, Rick, we're going to take that and run with it. And I think you and I talked back when we made our last run. This was for the expansion race there with the NFL. The last time they expanded, this was post Joe Boats and post Mad Dogs and so on. And at that time, there, just to remind all of the listeners, is there were 5 finalists in that process. It was Charlotte, Jacksonville, St. Louis, Memphis, and Baltimore. Right. And that of those 5 cities, the whole issue, which we didn't learn until later, came down. You had to have a brand new stadium. And quite frankly, our plan that we had here, and I'm not blaming anybody now, we have Rick, you may know, we have a two mayor, two government, two legislative body system here, and it was very difficult at the time to get them together. The stadium, I believe, was owned partially by the county and partially by the city. We had new people elected, and of those 5 cities, we thought we had the best plan, the best ownership. As it turned out, we didn't have a brand new stadium, and the other 4 cities all ended up building brand new cities, and guess what? All 4 of those other cities now have NFL teams. In Baltimore, you had the team was moved from Cleveland, wasn't that right?
Yeah,
and then to make it worse, the Nashville folks, and at that time, who then later became governor, Mayor Phil Bredesen, figured it out. If we build a new stadium, we're going to get the team that Memphis should have got.
Yep.
And so they built the new stadium, and there's always been, it's been laying in the back of our minds that those 5 finalist cities, it should have been Memphis, but we didn't have a brand new stadium, so they had the state government there and the governor and all that, so they built the stadium. And so if you say that Nashville got Memphis's team, all 5 of those finalists in the early 90s for the expansion have now NFL teams. So, yeah, we need a brand-new stadium, and I think it would be great for the next 50 years of our community to get something done. So we're going to enlist you for sure.
Well, and I'm there because, it only works, Steve, as you know, with political leadership, but with people who are invested in the process and know what they're doing. And I remember the old Shelby County and City of Memphis issues. And one of the things that has to happen is that communities after the pandemic need to come together and know what infrastructure is important. You already have the FedEx Forum. You've got your NBA team. This doesn't automatically guarantee or even increase the likelihood of an NFL team, but you need a safe place to go to watch football, concerts, and the like. And the public sector needs to help. And you and I need to talk tomorrow. How's that?
Okay. Well, and one thing that I think has changed since, maybe you followed it from afar, but the University of Memphis has made unbelievable strides. 25 years ago, they were not considered, a top attraction locally or nationally. And now, the last few years, they've been a top 25 team. In fact, I give great credit to the University of Memphis that they now have both a basketball program and a football program that are both top 25 ranked teams, and that's terrific for the University of Memphis. So I think for a stadium to service the University of Memphis, the Southern Heritage Classic, which is a terrific game and it's been over 25 years, and then the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and then to get back into the world of entertainment and a fine community facility, I think we should definitely look at it. So yeah, I'll be on the phone with you tomorrow.
That's perfect. And, the prototype, just one more comment on this, guys. And by the way, thanks, guys, for facilitating this because this is long overdue.
Our
and
pleasure.
We are going to talk tomorrow. And, the bottom line of all of it is that there are a lot of people. I know Hard Rock Stadium just got the first certification from an organization that I had never heard of, but it's on biohealth and biovirus, and it was created just to create some good housekeeping seal of approval. And frankly, older stadiums will take a lot more to get it done. And there's a lot of discussion about creating the prototypical stadium of the future with social distancing and opportunities to deal with food service and temperature taking. And you don't want to scare anybody, but that's the new reality. And so if there are funds available for that, and if everybody needs that, then it's all the more reason why those that also need facilities for other reasons going to kind of glom onto this.
Well, and maybe I'll kind of ask this as a question, Rick, but I want to make sure I understand that your expertise indicates that with all this stimulus and federal money that's going to be pushed down into local communities for infrastructure projects, that again, I'm asking the question, it's your understanding that there will be monies available for public, facilities like a stadium. Is that a fair way of saying it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely telling you, keep it quiet. No, it's all over Memphis, but I'm absolutely telling you that just like the Orange Bowl in 1934, there will be language available and political will to use stadiums and arenas and development spectator facilities as another post-coronavirus stimulus opportunity for infrastructure. It stimulates the neighborhood. It creates new jobs. It keeps events in town. It brings in other events. You know what your economic impact studies say. You read them chapter and verse and created them. And also it gives the ability to create a healthy environment in facilities where that's a fairly new argument, but it's going to be part of what Congress is doing. So when we talk, I'll be able to kind of talk to you chapter and verse on how we may work together to get that done.
That's amazing. That would really be incredible. If look, it happened in a lot of communities after the war. That stadium in Mobile.
Miami.
Miami. How many were there built? There was 10 or 12 of them built, weren't there, around
Well,
the country?
I heard 23.
23,
because
okay.
there were some legislative committees that were looking at that, which is kind of important. In fact, the legislature researched it. Maybe it's not 23, maybe it's a little less, but it's a lot. And frankly, nobody says it's the wrong way to spend money if you have to have an economic engine and create some infrastructure to help kickstart an economy. Why not?
Well, and this would be and David, I guess I would say this, and as you probably know, Rick, David is the voice of the University of Memphis Tigers. So, David, we need to get you to round up all the Tiger fans and supporters here, because the Tigers would be, and they've been talking about a new stadium for, how many years, David, that, there's been talk, well, the university needs a new stadium because the Autos on Liberty Bowl, it's a facility that serves us well, I guess I would say that for now, but compared to all these brand new facilities, and with so many brand new facilities around the country, we're basically fighting for our lives with the things going on in Las Vegas and Los Angeles and in Atlanta and all these other kinds of stadiums that they're looking for the next 50 years. And I think as a community and as a university, we should be looking to that next 50 years ourselves.
And Dave, listen, not too many. This is going to sound gratuitous, but it's not. Just give me the opportunity to be a historian here. There are very few communities that have a Steve Earhart as their consistent spokesman. There are a lot of communities who have civic support organizations, and those cheerleaders are 1 year and out. Chair people, and then they're executive directors who reach a pinnacle and then move on as an executive director to another city. You're lucky to have them. And I would be very excited about working with Steve because I know his pedigree, and your market is one that I think there can be great things done in. And Dave, listen, I've been on the show with you for a while, and it's just, I guess it's one of those things I would have to tolerate if I want to continue working in Memphis.
Yes, sir, you would.
Well, I want to spend a moment or two on what Rick's talked about with what the Miami Dolphins are doing down in their stadium there, or maybe David, you've already talked on your show about it, but it was.
Well, we did.
I went through it, and I think for this immediate upcoming football season for the Southern Heritage and for the Tigers and for the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, there's some very creative things that you guys have talked about that I think can create a very safe environment. It may not be that it's totally packed, but I mean that big halo area that all Tiger fans are used to, where concessions could be kind of moved out into that area where you would have, it's almost like takeout food for the concessions, like going to your restaurant and getting a safe environment for that. And then there's enough exits and entrances there. You get people in and out, and with some of the bench seating, I think there can be some separation occurred. So I think there's a much better picture than saying, well, we're going to pack people into too confined an area. So I think there's some very positives even for the short term for this upcoming fall season.
Well, let's just talk one more time about the economic part of that, though, because, Rick, the way I read that Hard Rock deal, you have 65,000 potential customers, and they're saying because of social distancing, it may get cut down to 15,000. Can the economic model make it when you're talking about having 20% of your audience?
Compared to what? Compared to to zero? Yes. So here's the thought. It's a perception issue more than anything else, because again, as I started, when 3/4 of the people surveyed saying we're not going near a stadium until a vaccine is created, you're in a hole. And then how do you get out of the hole? Well, you got to be very creative. The 15,000, and that's the way Tom Garfinkel and Steve Ross do business, is to be very transparent and say, that's the worst case. We're going to start with the bad news, and maybe we can put more people in, and maybe we rotate in. And it's 10 games this year, plus it's college, and get used to it. And we're going to experiment with it as we deal with it over time. Now, there are ways that you let sections out and in where maybe it's 15 for week 1. And again, I'm making this up, but maybe it's 40 for week 3. Mm-hmm. And it's all based on medical, social distancing issues, not politics and not team performance. And so that becomes a laboratory, Steve Earhart, where all of the architects in the country looking at this very carefully. I know for a fact, I talked to them all the last couple of days. They're all going crazy. What do we do? How do we get this out there? Well, the answer is that it's great for stadium plans as a laboratory for the future. So a community that is on the cusp of looking at volunteering to create kind of the next model as far as a new public facility we could have, you would be kind of ground zero for experimenting on all of this, assuming there's an opportunity to get it done.
Let the model be Memphis. I love it. It's great. We've birthed an infant here today. I love it. And Steve, you'll get with Rick tomorrow. We're out of time for today.
That's all we do. No, we got to go more. No, we'll do it. Hey, Steve, call me tomorrow. This was fantastic.
Okay, well, Dave's cutting us off here. We got some good stuff going here, but he's the king. His nickname is King David here, so that's why he's in charge. So,
all right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you both, guys.
King David.
Thank you.
Okay.
We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. We will take a quick time out, and when we return, we'll talk a little Charles Barkley. I actually felt bad for Charles Barkley today. We'll tell you why in just a minute.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Central Barbecue is committed to the health and safety of this community, who has supported Central for almost 20 years. Central Barbecue is still open for business with to-go and delivery options to serve the greater Memphis area with the same great barbecue you have come to know and love. With 4 locations to serve you, from downtown, midtown, and East Memphis, you can order your favorite barbecue and enjoy everything on the menu in the comfort of your own home. Call your nearest Central Barbecue location for more information on delivery and to-go options today.
Savings accounts at typical banks often have rates starting with 0, but a Marcus by Goldman Sachs high-yield online savings account really helps your money grow. You could earn much more interest with Marcus than with the largest banks, so go to marcus.com to learn more about their high-yield online savings account. Comparison made to the 3 largest U.S. banks measured by total deposits. Rates as of March 4th, 2020, and may vary by state. Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC.
Here at Rocket Mortgage and the Rock family of companies, every one of our team members knows a hero.
My Uncle Paul, who works long hours at the grocery store to make sure that people can put food on the table.
We really want to thank my wife's cousin Marie, who works so hard as a nurse saving others.
Thank you for being a hero in our community, Des Marie.
To those who leave their homes to keep us safe in ours, we thank you. From the front lines to behind the scenes, we see you. You're essential every day, and today, you're heroes.
You're giving families everywhere a little more hope for a healthier tomorrow.
We're sending all our love, gratitude, and hope your way.
Here's to all of you. We couldn't be more grateful.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Say we miss you, Mama.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you'd like to thank America's frontline and essential workers with us, visit everyoneknowsahero.com. Quicken Loans, LLC, NMLS number 3030, licensed in 50 states. Each legal entity that identifies themselves as part of the Rock family of companies are separate legal entities with their own governance and management structures.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. How old is your water heater?
With most of the water heaters in the Mid-South located in the attic, the worst day you can replace your water heater is one day too late. It may be time for a tankless water heater from Conway Services that never runs out of hot water. Plus, these energy-saving models only heat the water you use, saving you money on your gas bill every month. Most 10-year-old water heaters were about 65% efficient when they were new, compared to a tankless water heater from Conway Services is up to 98% efficient. Plus, right now, get your tankless water heater from Conway Services for as low as $79 per month, or I'll give you $300 for that old tank water heater. And no more worrying about that tank bursting in your attic either. And with over 8,000 five-star reviews, you know Google guaranteed Conway Services will be providing that award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier tankless water heater professionals at 384-3511. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old water heater will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Every time I come around your city, bling, bling. Think it rain with about 50, bling, bling. Every time I buy a new ride, bling, bling. Lorenzo's on your car, I'm a fast.
Welcome back in, cruising through our final second hour, I should say. Coming up at 5 o'clock, Pierre Landez, the executive director of the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame, will join us, and we'll talk about what is happening there in the new museum, an update on that. I think it's been delayed a little bit by the coronavirus, but we'll get it all straight with him. I've got some bad news, Brett. Today, I just found out Coach Terry Ryan, who for many, many years was the head coach at Fraser High School, passed away a little bit later in this day, a little earlier, in the day. And he was the textbook high school, old school football coach with the crew cut and the tough demeanor, but the soft heart for sure. He molded a lot of people in North Memphis as they grew up. A lot of folks that I knew had Terry Ryan as their coach and their mentor, and he will be missed. His daughter, I know, is an educator in the public school system now, and I agree for her and for her family. But Coach Ryan, who'd been ill for a little bit here, passed away today.
Very, very sad news today. I know I've talked about the center for Ole Miss, Eli Johnson, and his dad, David, who works at the 24/7 site. Today, Eli Johnson tweeted out, as a lot of you know, my dad spent 3 weeks on life support due to COVID-19. On day 9, he was given a 5% chance of survival, and by day 13, his chances of survival were statistically insignificant. As of now, it looks like my dad will be returning home
What a miracle.
in the following days.
Oh, that is a great story.
Very sad story about Coach, but good story about Eli Johnson at Ole Miss, his dad. And, you know, his mother went in the hospital first with the virus, and she got out rather quickly, sprang right back to her old self, and it almost took David, but it looks like it's going to be a good story there.
That is outstanding news. I'm so happy for him, his family. That is great. Going into the break, I mentioned I sort of feel sorry for Charles Barkley, and I really do. Charles Barkley, who is paid to give his opinion, and because he is so opinionated, and usually his opinions are pretty interesting but pretty on the money, he gets paid a lot of money and gets a lot of respect. And he's one of those rare individuals, I think, that has a license to say anything. I mean, race doesn't matter with him. It just doesn't. He's one of those few people that can get away.
He's got a wide swath.
With saying whatever the heck is on his mind. And I think people think he's a pretty fair and honest guy. So Charles, a couple of years ago, after having a 20-plus year sort of brother relationship with Michael Jordan, basically said that Michael was not a very good GM, and a lot of the reason why was because he only hired his friends and family and ex-teammates and needed people around him that would not just be yes men.
That's true.
And it is true.
Charles Barkley was right about that.
He absolutely was. But you know the sad part about it is Michael Jordan cut him off. And when Charles has been asked about it a couple of times, he might have even said it on The Last Dance. I'm not 100% certain of that. But it was basically, you know what? I've tried to talk to Michael. He understands it's my job, but he won't talk to me, basically. He has cut off the relationship.
And you know how I know Charles Barkley is right about that? You know how I know he's not been a very good general manager and a very good owner of the Hornets?
Yeah, look at his record.
It's proof positive.
Look at
Every May, he's sitting on that dais at Secaucus on ping pong ball night.
Yeah.
That means you're not any good.
Yeah.
And now, nothing will ever take away from Michael Jordan, the player, but I have said through the years, it did something to Elgin Baylor's lasting basketball memory of a lot of people knew of him sitting on that stage with a bad Clipper team.
But he did it a long time, though. How long was he the GM?
And they were bad a long time.
Yeah, they
Michael
were.
Jordan's done it a long time, and they've been bad a long time.
They have. I don't know. I don't think you can hurt Michael's legacy, especially after this Last Dance. All these new generations now that are tuning in to watch him win 6 championships. I don't.
But
I
you
don't think he's got to worry about it.
You contrast watching Last Dance and seeing the greatness on the floor, and then come every May you go, boy, he must be bad in the job now because there he is again this year and again this year. Breaking news: Big 12 has announced the cancellation of its football media days.
Oh, so the only one left is the SEC.
Big 10.
Big 10 too. Wow. Well,
and I don't think the ACC's made an announcement either.
Oh, I thought the ACC said virtual, but I could be wrong. That is 2 hours in the books. We want to thank our folks at the Memphis Tourism and Sports Council, and Pierre Landash is going to come up. He's a big part of that, too, for being a sponsor of Mike DeCourcy this year and of all the things they do. And a reminder, they're still hoping we can watch 901 FC this year at AutoZone Park. They'll still be involved in promoting the AutoZone Liberty Bowl if it is to occur. They'll be there to help out the University of Memphis when we decide we're going to play football. They are there to help golf courses, and they are there to help all the tourism that goes on. It all works hand in hand. Nobody does it better than the group with the Memphis Tourism, Memphis Sports Council. Back in a minute, Pierre Landash. He's the one from the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. He is next.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Every home has things it needs, things that need to be maintained, fixed, or replaced. The Home Depot is here to help you get it done. You can easily find what you need on our app. Order it online with the push of a button and have it brought to your door with free delivery on over 1 million items. We have the essentials you need, the online know-how you may need to do it yourself, and low prices that make it all possible. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Periscope. Don't miss out on anything. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 on social media. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Pierre Landash coming up to talk with us about the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame and the great museum and interactive area that they will have at AutoZone Park, part of the Memphis Tourism and Sports Council. We so appreciate them. This hour brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Visit their website, DeSotoAutoSales.com, and see all the referrals from the very happy customers of DeSoto Auto Sales. Down on Goodman Road in DeSoto County, every car you can think of, and every car is test driven, all checked out, head to toe, unlimited inventory. If it's not on the lot, they'll go find it for you at DeSoto Auto Sales, where you're treated like family. You walk in the door, you're met by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales, but they care about your time and want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. What exactly is that? It means you walk in, you deal with your sales rep, you test drive your car, a couple cars, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in less than 45 minutes. In time to do it right now, immediately after work, in time to get home for dinner or during your lunch hour and get back to work. We're living in a world today that time matters, and they know that at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road. DeSotoAutoSales.com, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
Pierre Landash is the head of the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. We had our first class a year ago. He's been on here a couple of times. Always enjoy chatting with Pierre. And I know just like everything else, this pandemic has affected the progress of what is going on at AutoZone Park and probably when we might even have our ceremony. Will it have to be a virtual ceremony? Pierre, good afternoon. I hope today finds you and your family very healthy as we have opened up the city to good news. 3 days now and positivity from the city officials about the opening. What are you hearing about what's going on with your big project? Good afternoon.
Well, Dave, how are you doing?
Good.
I appreciate you having me on. We've been making progress on the Sports Hall of Fame. Certainly, the virus has affected everyone and everything. In particular, sports, especially sports. Something that unifies everybody and something that everybody wants to get back to. At the Sports Hall of Fame, you mentioned last year was our bicentennial year, and we announced our bicentennial class. Had a great evening at AutoZone Park last October when we inducted 22 members to the first class. And at the beginning of the year, we opened nominations for the 2020 class, and we're up to 115 nominations of individuals for the Sports Hall of Fame, and
wow.
Our next step is to whittle that down to 60, and then we'll take 40 names after that to the advisory committee so they can select the 2020 class. And you're right, the pandemic has affected just about everything we're doing, but we're trying to move forward with designing what we think is going to be one of the most unique, one of the most interactive sports exhibits in the country. But there are a lot of other more important things, if you will, that the Sports Council is dealing with at the moment, and Memphis Tourism is dealing with them at the moment. So
sure.
So we're respectful of that, but we're trying to continue our efforts to select the next class and make plans for opening one day the new Memphis Sports Experience and Hall of Fame.
And when you start to whittle those classes down, Pierre, how big do you want this second class to be of inductees?
Well, that's a great question. I tell you, we had 22 last year, and it was really difficult for us to keep it low, because there's so many great stories, there's so many great individuals that we can honor. This year, most sports halls of fame around the country are anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12. But when we start to look at this class, especially when you consider some of the prep coaches we've had, in town, the Tom Nixes, the Jake Rudolphs, Lloyd Williams, the list goes on and on. Ken Netherland. There's actually groups.
Ruffner Murray, Hickman Ewing. We could go all night just with prep coaches.
Yep.
Well, and Derek Hunter, is a great girls basketball coach, and Terry Tippett, Jerry Peters. But we're considering possibly inducting a group, like prep coaches. But on top of that, there might be anywhere from 10 to 12, maybe up to 16 individuals announced this year.
I think Jerry Peters is the number 2 winningest all-time coach in the state of Tennessee, and I do feel, and we had to cut it off somewhere last year, but I feel this pang. I truly do that
it's endless. The great high school coaches.
Well, that we didn't get Tom Nix in last year. He was there for that ceremony. I know he knows he was going to get in this year, but unfortunately passed before we could get him in. So I'm certain, Pierre, it'll be a posthumous celebration that we'll have.
Well, you can't keep him out,
Right.
And you're right. He did attend the ceremony at AutoZone Park last year when Tim McCarver, who actually played for Tom Nix back in the 50s, when he was inducted, Coach Nix, he called to say, he was coming. And I think that was one of Tim McCarver's highlights of the evening was getting to see his old coach again.
It was a splendid evening. Do we have any idea when we might do this? And are you? And I know you're a planner, Pierre. So are we considering virtual this year? I would hate that. Or would we just delay it another year? What do you think?
Well, I think we're going to, like everyone else and everything else, we're going to take it one day at a time, because the information is changing on a daily basis. I spoke to the Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame today. They are proceeding with their plans to have, they're going to select their 2020 class. They have a date held in December for their induction ceremony.
Usually first Monday in December. First Monday night.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. So they're proceeding as if they're going to have an induction ceremony. We are as well, but we are respectful that this event, it could change on a daily basis. So we're proceeding as planned, but we've got plan B, C, D, E, and F, if you will.
Pierre, one of the great things about it is the cup runneth over with so many stories and so many great athletes and sports figures, coaching and playing and media and ownership and just the groundbreaking work done by so many people in our community. And one thing I love about you is you're always open to suggestion. And every time I see you, I have one. How about an annual award every year at the ceremony for the sports person of the year in the community? Maybe they don't go into the Hall of Fame, but they receive the Larry Finch Sports Person of the Year award.
Well, we're taking cues from a lot of sports halls of fame from around the country, and they're doing just that. The Florida Sports Hall of Fame has an award that recognizes an organization or recognizes an individual that makes a contribution to youth fitness and youth sports in their communities. And one of our main missions is to make sure, we celebrate the great stories, we celebrate great people, but our Sports Hall of Fame is going to be very intentional about educating our youth about the importance of teamwork, the importance of being passionate about something, the importance of staying healthy and the importance of a healthy lifestyle. So, in addition to honoring great individuals, we could potentially honor entire teams or individuals that make those kinds of contributions to our community. So, Al Geiberger might be a recognizable figure because although he's technically not eligible for this Sports Hall of Fame since he's neither from Memphis or he played for a Memphis team, he will forever be linked to Memphis because he was the very first golfer to hit 59, you may remember. So, absolutely, Stats, we are considering additional awards like that to recognize people that otherwise probably wouldn't be in the Sports Hall of Fame for their athletic achievement.
Well, Pierre, I like the sound of that because we have had problems trying to figure out exactly what's the exact requirement for eligibility here. I think we have a pretty good working definition, but for great historic moments, which you could say contribution to Memphis sports, like the Geiberger 59, I don't know, we can make the argument Reggie White belongs in because he started his professional football career and he's from the state of Tennessee, but he played in Memphis for a couple of years, that he could get in that way. But if there was somebody in that sort of gray area, well, then he could get in as a contributor for a particular year. Or if there's a great story a particular year, some high school team comes from nowhere and wins a state championship, and you can recognize that group and that coach that year. So there's a lot of different ways you could use that just to promote a great sports happening, either present or past, in the city of Memphis.
Absolutely. And the enviable position I'm in is that I don't have to make those decisions. It's you, Wolo, and the rest of your colleagues on the advisory committee that's going to have make that call. But I think it's a great idea, and this year hopefully we'll find a way to include the public's vote into this year's class because we'd really like to hear what your listeners have to say. And we'd like to know who they think needs to be in this year's class.
So will you put I think it's the Sports Council website now. I believe the hall's going to have a website. But when you put that up there, when you whittle this thing down to the top 20 that we consider, I believe that was what you said the number would be, or we're going to start at 40. Would you put that on the website for fans to be able to vote on?
We're still determining exactly how we're going to include the fan vote, but all of that information, yes, will be on the website, which is now the MemphisSportsCouncil.com. And not only can you learn about the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame on MemphisSportsCouncil.com, but you can hear about the great things we're doing to try to bring events to Memphis in the future. The Sports Council has a hand in just about every sporting event that comes to the city, from the World Golf Championship to AAU's 14 and under National Basketball Championship. So they're involved in making a huge economic impact on the city.
Pierre, update us on the construction at AutoZone Park. I know halted or limited by the virus, and with the Redbirds out, I thought it might be a good time to double up and catch up on the construction, but not if they can't assemble and have to be socially distant.
Well, the design continues on the Hall of Fame, and yes, this is a perfect time to be in AutoZone Park doing some work. But once we complete the design and shore up some of the funding, then we can start work on it. The folks at AutoZone Park have been great. It's just it hurts me to think about the 901 FC and the Memphis Redbirds. You know, this couldn't have happened at a worse time for them, but hopefully they'll get back on track soon, and things will start to get back to normal. And when that happens, then we can begin to approach folks to help us fund the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. But we're referring to it as the experience, because this will be a highly interactive exhibit that's going to engage you from the moment you walk into the museum until the moment you leave.
Pierre, who are the names most prominently mentioned or most often mentioned for your second class that you, besides Tom Nix, that you feel will certainly be in that final 20 to be considered?
Well, if I had to guess, when you talk about Spook Murphy, I mean, he's certainly somebody that can make the next couple of classes.
And when you talk about him, I should point out there's a great effort that's being done in the area, and when I say the area, the region of college football fans, to put Billy Murphy into the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yep. Yeah. And we have one individual from the College Football Hall of Fame, or from Memphis in the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't know if you can you venture a guess who that might be?
Stats, you got to know that.
That's our friend from Notre Dame, isn't it?
Well, it's our friend from Yale, William Neely Mallory. He played for Yale in the 20s and one of their undefeated teams.
You told us that.
And
that's right.
He's the only Memphian so far in the College Football Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, passed in a plane accident right after World War II. But others, Wolo or Charlie Lee, Doc Prothrow. I think this might be the year for Elliot Perry and maybe even Gene Bartow.
Boy, that just gets me excited right there. All those guys. I would. They're all worthy. They're all going to get in for sure eventually, and this would be the great time. There's no question Charlie Lee belongs in there, and then our friend Elliot Perry, who's a guest on with us every week. I know he would be thrilled by that, and he deserves to be in there. He's still, to me, the best clutch shooter when the game was on the line that I saw. Now, I didn't see Larry play, Larry Finch, but man, when the game was on the line, the kid didn't miss.
He's a good one. I thought maybe Joe Signiago might have been in the College Football Hall of Fame.
That's who I thought you were talking about, was Joe Signiago, who I got to know.
And I'll give you another Golden Domer, Pierre, that probably should be in and was a starting center for Notre Dame, team captain, and a great player from CBHS that played for Coach Tom Nix, Chuck Lanza.
Absolutely. He's on the list. He is one of our 115 nominees, to be sure.
Joe Signiago's son was Steve. Joe Signiago was he was a heck of an athlete.
He was a good one. We could go on and on, but you've got Bobby Bingo Smith that's up there. Andy Roberts,
racquetball,
the great racquetball player.
Well, he was number one in the world for a couple of years.
And it's why these first 5 or 6, maybe heck 10 years of the first classes, Pierre, I'm afraid you may be hurting somebody's feelings or making them mad, but there's only so many people you can put in, and there's so many people that are deserving.
Each time you got to be real careful. Who else played with Ronnie Robinson and Larry Finch, Larry Keenan?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Larry Keenan was one of those one-year guys, so you make the argument
and their,
1 year.
Their coach is in Birdie Sales,
right? Same as Derek Rose. Does 1 year is that enough to get you in?
Well, if you're from if you're from here or if you played here, that makes you eligible. So you're right. The advisory committee has their work cut out for them because there are a lot of folks we can honor.
A lot to think about, that is for sure. So, do we have any kind of tentative date that has been out there? I remember it was sort of geared more for the fall this year, correct?
Well, for the induction ceremony?
Yeah.
That's basically you were working towards an October time frame, and we're holding that date. We're going to, depending on the availability of the individuals that can make it to the induction ceremony, we'll kind of work around their schedule like we did last year, and then we'll make the announcement on the exact date. But staying away from some of the fall breaks for the public and private schools, you're looking at a mid-October date if we in fact have it.
Pierre, I know you're a gigantic LSU fan. There was a great LSU player from Christian Brothers, Buddy Sofker. I don't know.
That's right. That's right. I know Buddy. I know him well. And in fact, when I was president of the Alumni Association here in Memphis, Buddy and I had an opportunity to go pick up Coach Saban.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Bring him. Yeah, he and I brought Coach Saban to the quarterback club here so he could speak. That was a long time ago, but I know Buddy. I know him well, and he also played with Tim McCarver, did he not?
That's correct. Pierre, I got to ask you, as an LSU fan, if Wayne Huizinga doesn't steal Nick Saban from LSU, he wins everything and then some that he's won at Alabama, he would be the biggest figure in the history of Louisiana had he stayed. He'd be bigger than the Long family if he had stayed there.
Right.
Does it ever eat at you? Right. Does it ever eat at you that darn Wayne Huizinga and the Dolphins had to come calling?
It does, but
it shouldn't anymore. You just won one last year with for goodness sake.
He'd have 6 more, though.
This is true, but I will say, though, that if it weren't for Nick Saban, we wouldn't have Drew Brees with the New Orleans Saints.
Great point.
Nick Saban picked Culpepper over Drew Brees, so
that's right.
So we got sort of the benefit of that deal, and we got a old Cajun from Bayou Lafourche coaching the team now. So I think we did pretty well, but I think you're right. Had he stayed,
in the king,
we'd have 3 or 4 more national championships probably.
Yeah, probably so. Absolutely.
But I will say this one more point. I spoke to Coach Alston recently over at MUS about the Sports Hall of Fame, and he was talking to me about the MUS hall that they recently opened, and I mentioned to him that how happy I was that Maurice Hampton is now on the LSU football and baseball team, and he said, "Well," he said, "he'll be in your Hall of Fame one day." I said, "Okay, we'll see."
Yeah, he's good. He's that good.
He could be in your football Hall of Fame, or he could be in your baseball Hall of Fame. The kid is.
He could be Deion Sanders.
He's so
Unreal.
good in both sports.
He's
what an athlete.
spectacular.
Yeah. Pierre, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for.
Thank you, Pierre.
Chatting with us
my
about
pleasure.
this. I can't wait to have some of these meetings and start to figure it out. I sure hope we have this October deal. Look, if we're going to have college football, we can certainly have a gathering, and we'll be able to space it out like we did last year with everybody. It just sort of use more of AutoZone Park because there's plenty of seats there. I think it's very doable if the medical people say we can.
Right. I want to thank you guys for everything you do. I listen to you every day, and I get more information and more learn more about this virus from you guys than I do just about anywhere else. So thank you for your service.
We appreciate that. Thank you. We are enjoying doing it. Thanks, Pierre. Talk to you soon.
See you.
That is Pierre Landesh from the Sports Council and, of course, the head of the Hall of Fame. This portion of the show brought to you by the Commissary, the Germantown Commissary and the Collierville Commissary. Great thing about those two places, they're open. Walker Taylor has opened them up. I saw a great story Monday morning or Monday mid-morning. There are two guys that work in the area, and every Monday they go to early lunch together. What they've been doing is they've been picking up the commissary, doing the drive-through, and then going to a park in Collierville and eating lunch there. Now they could eat inside, and they were so happy. And, you know, Walker Taylor's so smart. He's done everything there. You're using plastic utensils. He's taken away those fancy little tablecloths because he didn't want to have to clean them after every time. And every time a table is bussed, it is totally disinfected. They're doing the same thing at the Germantown Commissary. I'm certain you can still do the pickup if you want. You can do the curbside in Germantown. You can do, of course, the drive-through in Collierville, or go inside. It's all spaced. It's all terrific. Walker Taylor is just way ahead of the game. So if you want ribs, either to take home tonight or to eat inside, if you want shoulder, if you want the icebox lemon pie, if you want the banana pudding, if you want the tamales, it's open. Yes, sir. You can go to the Germantown Commissary or the Collierville Commissary. Let's take a timeout. When we come back, we had a wonderful conversation with ABC 24's Richard Ransom earlier in the day. We will replay that for you next.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof, or even if you need one, by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Start your day at Sunrise Memphis. Located in Midtown, enjoy delicious biscuit sandwiches and all their menu has to offer, with quick and easy to-go and delivery options. Whether it's breakfast, brunch, or lunch, don't distance yourself from great food. For more information on Sunrise Memphis, visit sunrise901.com or call 901-552-3144 to place your order. Stay healthy and eat Sunrise Memphis today.
Do you get into bed and find your mind still going? If so, try ZzzQuil Pure Z's liquid melatonin. It's made with an optimal level of melatonin for no next day grogginess. Pure Z's liquid melatonin, because sleep is a beautiful thing, at stores now.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me Saturdays 8 to 9 a.m. for Sidelines here on Sports 56 WHBQ, 87.7 FM, and 96.1. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, and your favorite team. Give us a call. That's Sidelines, Saturday mornings 8 to 9 a.m. Sidelines is presented by Duncan Williams Asset Management. So get up and give us a call.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in halfway through our final hour on this fantastic Wednesday day. The city officials said they were pleased with our reopening, day 3 of the city opening up back ways and days where you can go to the gym and get your hair cut. A lot of people, it seemed like there was a little new step in their gait. I think people are enthused. I hope we can keep it up. We passed Cinco de Mayo. We'll see how this thing keeps going. They will look at the first week's numbers and cases, and we've had the fewest amount of cases in a week since March, so that's a good sign. 2 fatalities from yesterday, only 60 new cases, so there was a lot of positive in today for sure. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm not sure how, Drew, you've set this recording or where it started off, but I'll remind everybody we first met Richard Ransom years ago when he was at Channel 5. He became famous. Part of his legacy was clean it up when he did the restaurant health report reviews, and then went away, came back, and now he's just doing a terrific job covering the city for us for ABC 24, and we chatted with him earlier today. Let me know your first thoughts on day 3 of the city opening back up. There certainly was optimism at the briefing today from the county and the city officials.
Right. So the initial numbers are promising. I think most people are realizing it's kind of on us to determine whether this works or not. And hopefully, if we respect the social distancing guidelines and all of that, we can get the economy open, but also not make the situation any worse. And actually better would be nice.
Yeah.
Richard, under this mountain of numbers and information, we've had various journalists on, print, television, radio. I mean, if you can't find something to report on right now, you might be in the wrong racket, because there's a lot of stories. What is Richard Ransom's go-to number every day? We all go to the COVID-19 kind of scoreboard, but what's Richard Ransom's go-to number every day?
Well, I look to see the hospitalizations. That's the number that I'm most interested in, because I know we've beefed up our capacity to be ready for any kind of spike. And as long as that is holding steady, I think that is more true to what kind of a crisis we're having than number of cases, because now we're seeing these stories where, an entire prison population is tested and 98% of the inmates have it or have it tested positive but show no symptoms. So you have obviously, as we get to learn more about this, I think the ones who are getting truly sick, and there's even talk that maybe there's a couple of strains that are involved here, that is going to be most telling about what kind of situation we're facing going forward.
I think it's so on the money to look at that hospitalization, because really and truly, I think that's where, as a country, the lockdown sort of really came from. They were worried that what happened in Italy with the health services being so overwhelmed, the hospitals having to choose who would get a ventilator and live and who would not and die. They were so worried about that happening, which is why we're building that thing at the old commercial appeal building on Union and the one on Jackson, so worried that we would overwhelm our hospitals that we went to these measures. And honestly, I guess we can say that it's really worked out. Even in New York, that ship they built, they didn't use.
Right.
And I don't know that we'll ever use it, and that's okay with me. But I'm not sure we'll ever use the commercial appeal building. But that's the key thing, isn't it?
It absolutely is. You look at the testing is definitely important, and we were slow to get going on that. And it is going to give us some kind of measuring stick on where we are, and I hope that continues to pick up. The pace of that continues to pick up. But those who are getting exposed and getting really sick are the ones that we really need to be watching. And look, I hear the stats everybody else does. Men are twice as likely to die. I had a lung condition and asthmatic, borderline asthmatic all my life. I've been dealing with that. So, you personally take in the information and want to be careful, but you also have to keep it in check and look at, really what are the numbers showing. And I think following the data, as the mayor has done, has been the smartest choice.
Richard, in the state of Tennessee, kind of the macro, and then as a lot of Tennessee likes to refer to it, Big Shelby in West Tennessee in Memphis. What are kind of the Richard Ransom marks you'll give for the macro and the micro?
You're going to put me on the spot, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, look, I think that in Tennessee, most of our politicians have done a really sincere job of trying to get medical opinions to weigh in on what is the best course of action. I do think that Governor Lee has done a fairly good job, and the polls show that 64% are happy with the job he's done. But he did throw a curveball to the counties and municipalities when he changed the salon opening date, the phase 2, from May 29th and moved it up 3 weeks to May 6th. I think that put the other local officials in a real pickle as to what they were going to do. And that could have been handled better. But, hindsight is 20/20 on something like this. We've never encountered anything like before, and hopefully never will again. But, it's easy to do a lot of second guessing. But I think by and large, the only thing that has concerned me the most is when they show that national map where of the 16 or 17 states that are opening up the most, but are still seeing an increase in cases. And the White House's own guidelines are you're supposed to have 14 days of some decline before you do this. That's where I'm really interested to see whether this experiment of ours works.
The other thing the governor sort of did a little switcheroo on us was the churches, where it was going to be 25% capacity, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques. And he said, no, it's going to be up to the individual churches. They can make their own decision. Now, I don't have a problem with a restaurant because I've looked inside. Personally, I'm going to sit on a patio. I don't know if I'll go in for a little bit, but I've watched and seen how they've done the social distancing. I don't know that you're going to get that when you are crowding people into small churches. I understand, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness and religion, but I know personally of cases where people actually caught COVID-19 from being in a church too close to other people.
You look at the clusters, the outbreaks have largely been funerals, weddings. My wife has her dad is retired, lives in a small town in Donaldsonville, Georgia, and that's right near Albany, where they've had a huge outbreak, all because of the funeral where several people got exposed. And so those reasons, your concern is reasonable, because I don't think that is necessarily, unfortunately, a smart choice right now. I think worshiping via home churching, watching online is probably the best bet right now.
As you've done your stories over the last few days, how many people are coming to restaurants? Are we truly opening up? I said I went and got a haircut today. I actually went to the gym, but I knew the rules. I knew no one would be there, so I had to make an appointment. But are we doing one, responsible things, or two, are we showing up?
I saw a poll today that 1/3 of Americans now know someone who was seriously ill or died from COVID-19. And I think as that number goes up, it has the rest of us, and people share their stories. makes you think twice about putting yourself in those kinds of situations, because you ultimately have control over that. So yeah, I'm with you on the restaurants. I have several that I love to go to, and I miss terribly, but we've been supporting them with takeout service or curbside service, and that way the wife doesn't have to make the meal, and we have a nice night, with a nice glass of wine and not worry about anything. And to me, that peace of mind is worth it to me not to go into the establishment just yet.
Richard Ransom, our guest, he's on Twitter at Local24. Richard, and Richard, your bio is so fitting. I mean, it screams you, and you have in all caps independent. And when I watch you and I hear your editorials, the Ransom notes, through the years watching you, I could not tell if you are RD, Bull Moose, Whig Party. I could not tell, and that is a compliment.
Whig Party.
Well, I just try to go where the common sense is, and as we know, both parties are lacking a lot of that, and sometimes they make sense. So it's kind of hard for me to align with either one. So. But I appreciate that. It's important as a journalist, I think, not to show your bias one way or the other. I think we do bring to the table, our experiences, our life experiences, and that's only human. I don't think it's actually possible to be completely unbiased. But the goal I have for the viewer is to let them know that I'm not bringing those personal views into what I'm sharing with them at night. And sometimes on my, if you do pay attention to the Ransom Note commentary I do at 10 o'clock, I am an equal opportunity offender when it comes to politics.
Way to go! Keep them all in guard. I told Dave the story right outside the House of Representatives chamber in Washington D.C. that you see a lot of live stand-ups from. Richard, you may have seen it. You probably have done stand-ups from there. There is the statue of the great satirist, humorist from Oklahoma, Will Rogers. And before they commissioned his statue, he had one request: make sure I'm facing him where I can keep an eye on those SOBs.
Yep, that's a great story. Absolutely.
Richard, how do you think the leaders of Shelby County, Harris, Strickland, Haushalter, Jane, how do you think they have done in these trying times?
I don't think anyone is below a C grade, honestly. I think that Lee Harris, as county mayor, really had a challenge on his hands with the beauty salons and the barbershops. And you had the suburbs getting immense pressure to split away, and he really wanted to present a coordinated effort. And by all means, and I had several of my Ransom notes on this, you could not have a situation where you could drive across Poplar and Kirby if you wanted to get your hair cut or not. You needed to be as uniform as possible, or it was just going to be absolute chaos. And this is what I think they've been able to make work and have the restrictions in place that they have. As long as the numbers stay where they are, I think it can hold together. It's probably pretty fragile, but I commend him for putting that together, because I honestly didn't think he was going to, based on what I was hearing from some of the suburban leadership that I have as sources. So I think that was an A effort there. I think he gets a C, though, for not being in country when this all hit the fan. And I think he would even give himself that.
Yeah.
Mayor Strickland I'm very impressed with his task forces, the people he's assembled to try and coordinate an effort as the largest city in the county, has done a great job. I think even to the south of us, Governor Reeves. Well, he's going to go to the governor first, but yeah, and the so-called suburban mayors of North Mississippi have done a good job. So I think most of the leadership recognizes the seriousness of
this. As we move forward, and I don't know, what you can really get out of this, but is there a lesson? Maybe it's to be better prepared healthcare-wise, like that. Maybe we'll keep that hospital either on Jackson Avenue or at the Commercial Appeal. But what do you think the lessons are that we will have learned from this when we truly get through Phase 3?
Well, I don't know if you fellows would agree with me or not, but I think the one area that really there was no excuse for is not having stockpiles of the basics, the face masks, PPE, other supplies that shouldn't have to take up that much room in a storage room or what have you. And, we've got to bite the bullet and spend the money that it takes to have that ready to go. And that to me was, as I was seeing, especially out of New York when they really had their tough time, you just couldn't help but think there's just no excuse for that. This country is better than that. And
exactly.
I would hope that we could do better than that and learn our lesson from that in the future.
And Richard, both that and right now, I mean, with FEMA and with every alphabet soup, let's don't be caught not prepared for hurricane season this year. We don't need to have hurricane season or COVID season exacerbated by hurricane season. We got to quit having our guard down and not just have a rainy day fund of money, but have a rainy day fund of generators and water and masks and respirators. And you go through right through the list. And if we don't ever use them, then good. It's why we have fire insurance on our house, not because we're going to have a fire, in case we have a fire.
Yeah. And I hope that the promptness and the territorialness of the political part of this can be seen as a waste of time. The virus doesn't know any boundaries or state lines or city lines or municipal lines, and I think that's unfortunate that has crept into it as it has. But hopefully we can learn a lesson from that too.
Let's get ready for the murder hornets. That's what I say next. And incredible.
Man, we need a vaccine for those.
It's amazing the time that we are living in now. Do you think you'll ever do a Clean It Up restaurant review segment again in your entire career?
I don't think I could do that to the restaurant industry right now.
No, you couldn't.
I might be vilified.
No, you.
But I'll tell you what, it does kind of feel like a Groundhog Day that just never ends. You've seen that movie.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up, you do the same thing, and go to sleep and try to change the routine a little bit. And pretty much you just live the same day over and over again. It's pretty eerie coming into the building here where there's hardly no one around.
Well, you are being watched, though. That is for sure. You are helping people, and keep that in mind. And Richard, we thank you so much for being a part of our show today, and hopefully we'll have you on again as we clean things up, and trying to be punny here, and get through this thing.
Look, just because you're a sports show doesn't mean you can't have a news guy on every once in a while, right?
That's exactly
That's right.
That is right. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
That is Richard Ransom, the anchor from Channel 24,
Excellent.
ABC 24, and CW 30.
From the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there providing for the community. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Gateway Tires, RW Heating, Memphis Auto Parts, Blake Insurance, AutoSave Insurance, Roto-Rooter, Neil's, Barden Stone. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
The folks at Odor Eaters want to express our deep appreciation for the healthcare professionals, first responders, and essential business employees who continue to do so much to take care of the rest of us. To all of you working harder and longer days, if our products can help make the days ahead a little more bearable, you can find them in stores and online at Walmart, Target, CVS, or other fine retailers. Thank you.
Pros, Lowe's wants to help you keep working. That's why we're open for pro business hours 6 to 7 a.m. Monday through Saturday. You'll find the quantities you expect with dedicated pro associates and loaders to help you get what you need fast and load you up curbside. Now, more than ever, we know you need to win every single bid. You can count on Lowe's for special values on pro-trusted brands and savings when you buy in bulk. Save yourself a trip by shopping Lowe'sForPros.com, where we can ship thousands of items to your doorstep or to the job site. Lowe's is open and pro-ready.
Ugh, those nachos were rough on my stomach.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea,
try Pepto-Bismol liquid caps for fast relief and ultra coating.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion,
Pepto-Bismol liquid caps. Use as directed.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, then we hit fame. We busy with the deal, we get insane.
Final portion on this very springy, uplifting day. Good news. The 3 days so far since the city has been reopened have been really, really good days. I'll tell you what could make your day any day is going over to see my friends at Homer Skelton Hyundai or Genesis of Olive Branch, always ahead of the game. They were the first ones. They put this out there. We'll give you a new car. Well, we're not going to give it to you, but almost. It seems when you aren't going to pay any interest for 7 years, 0% financing for 84 months on Hyundais and on the Genesis luxury car like my G70. Or the G90 I had before that. One's a rocket ship. The other's the smoothest car I've ever had. Both are incredibly smooth and safe with all this new technology and durable. Because they all get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. And right now, if you were to go to Homer Skelton Hyundai or Genesis of Olive Branch, same building. It's only getting bigger, by the way. And they're still doing their jobs, and they're still out there, and they're very, very, very sanitary. They self-distance. They got little markings when you walk into the dealership, markings on where you stand. I mean, they have it down. Not only are they giving you 0% financing for 84 months, they give you 120 days before you make your first payment. That's on select models, but they understand. Some of you haven't been working, you're waiting, you're going to be back to work in the next 3 months. Don't make your payment for 120 days. You can't beat it. You just can't beat Homer Skelton Hyundai or Genesis of Olive Branch. Let's take time for crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Dave, I learned today that I'm less interested in the Charles Barkley-Michael Jordan feud than I am with the one between Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas, that feud. Charles Barkley spoke the truth. If Michael Jordan's stewardship with the Hornets, it's been bad. It's so bad he's on ping pong ball night too often. He was right, but I really don't care about their soap opera.
Which one, Isaiah or all of both of them?
Either, all of it.
The Isaiah one is interesting because Michael and Rod Thorne say it didn't happen, but I don't think, honestly, I think there was so much acrimony from most players or elite teams over the way the Detroit Pistons played that they all wanted to punish Isaiah Thomas, not just Michael Jordan. I learned today, well, even spokespeople for college football just don't agree on how this whole thing is going to work out. Penn State head coach James Franklin, former Vandy guy that we came to like, he basically said on a conference call with some reporters, he didn't think that it would work, that some schools in a conference could play and others couldn't, and one could start at this time and others couldn't. He says it either needs to be national or not at all. And then you got Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick saying there is a significant chance the FBS 10 conferences won't start to play simultaneously. I tend to think he's a little bit more on the money than James Franklin.
Sorry to James Franklin, but the Pac-12 didn't hold the veto card, and 5 out of the 12 Pac-12 schools have said they intend to have school in the fall and to have football. Arizona State, Washington State, and Oregon. That's 5 out of 12. So James Franklin might need to check with the rest of the Pac-12 before they get veto power over all of college football. No way. Could have done without. Today would have been the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame ceremonies in Dallas, and Dexter McCluster will be enshrined at some point. He was going to be today, but, of course, delayed, postponed like everything. Back-to-back MVP in the Cotton Bowl. He closed out the Cotton Bowl at Fair Park at the Cotton Bowl Stadium, and he opened Jerry's World with back-to-back MVPs. The only other back-to-back MVP in the history of the storied Cotton Bowl, Doak Walker. That's the league that Dexter was in.
I told you my sort of connection with Doak Walker, didn't I?
Oh, yeah, and Steamboat.
Steamboat, yeah.
Of course.
His wife owned the best ski shop in all of Steamboat Springs. She was a native. And
Dexter went for 281 in combined in 2 Cotton Bowls.
281. Wow.
Rushing. Yeah.
I got that part of it. I guess I could have done without the poor anguish of Patrick Ewing. And I feel for him because this was terrible. Somebody broke into his house in New York. They stole 2 Olympic gold medals and his 1984 Georgetown NCAA championship ring. He immediately got on the phone when he heard about it and talked to Jerry Colangelo, who is the head of USA Basketball. Colangelo was able to get him replica gold medals, so he got those back. Now, what are you going to do about your 1984 title ring? You can't get quite the replica of that. Just wasn't the same.
He found it out there on eBay.
Yes, he did. Some thief tried to sell it on eBay, and he got it back. So he got everything he lost, he got back in some form. But look at the anguish he had to go through.
But here's the guarantee. Unlike OJ, we know that Patrick Ewing won't go to jail for getting his old stuff back.
That's for sure. That was one of the great evening ups of all time. It never really evened up, but
didn't even up.
That was like
let me get this straight.
A makeup call.
You went to jail for stealing your stuff back. That's right up there with Plaxico going to jail for shooting himself.
Well, that's after you got away with murdering 2 people.
Keeping a close eye tonight.
Allegedly murdering 2 people, I have to say that.
Keeping a close eye tonight on who's going out. How busy will places be? Are people starting to go back out? It feels like baseball is getting really close with some type of decision. Now the news, the Woj bomb today, or Woj reporting today, Ramona Shelburne, first with the big conference call Friday with the NBA with every single player. We also know this. Schedule's coming out tomorrow night in the NFL, as TJ said, no dates by it. We know the first 4 games are going to be out-of-conference games. So if they have to scuttle anything, it'll probably be those games and pick up at that point. But we know the first 4 are going to be conference games. So who will the Chiefs be playing on that Thursday night if we have that Thursday night? It won't be somebody from the AFC West or even from the AFC.
Who will we hear from first on something sort of definitive? The NBA or Major League Baseball?
Baseball.
I tend to agree. What is the NBA going to say to their players on Friday, though? Man, I hope we have it before the show is out on that day. We've got to thank for participating today. The great job by Richard Ransom, TJ Reeves, our friend down in Tampa. It was fun to listen to Rick Horrow and Steve Earhart. Clever. They hadn't talked in 30 or 40 years, and now maybe we'll hatch a new stadium here. And then Pierre Landash. Tomorrow we got a big show, including Elliot Perry, Russell Copeland, and some surprises. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everyone.
Family Leisure's here to make staying at home more enjoyable for you and your family.